Welcome back to episode 207 of the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. Louis here too. What's going on, Troy?
Not a whole lot. Just got done with baseball practice and running my wife's car out to the shop to get fixed because it sucks.
Sounds like a fun day.
Very fun day. And work.
Yeah. Well, we got to record the show. Then I got to get up at 4 a.m., drive to Cleveland, bring the old man with me, get my dad at the National. That'd be kind of fun. Do a father-son road trip.
No young Madigan? No young Madigan?
No, he's working. He's landscaping.
Do you think he would complain the whole way? Or would it be like an hour of it? He'd be okay, and then he'd start going in.
He would sleep for about 6 hours, wake up, say I'm hungry, then complain, and then fall back asleep for another 6 hours. But I can't wait to see my dad at the National because I guarantee you we'll walk around for 2 hours. He'll say about 600 times, I can't believe people spend this much money on that.
I was going to say, is he a big sports card guy or is he just going for the experience?
No, he used to live there. So he has like friends there. I'm sure he's just going to tap out and go visit people, have coffee with old neighbors, as he says. But it'll be fun to haven't done a road trip with the old man in a long time. And then so today I'm just like scrambling, trying to get everything ready to leave for the weekend, head to the National, which I'm very excited about. The kid is landscaping, as I mentioned. And so he's kind of working very early to very late and physical work, of course, as you'd expect. I had to mow the lawn for the first time in 6 years today. I got a breaking news. Where's the breaking news sounder, Troy? Hold on. Breaking news.
Somewhere.
This just in, mowing the lawn sucks.
It does.
That's why we got to having sons is kind of amazing for that. I've just paid him for the last like 6-7 years to mow the lawn.
Yep.
Now he doesn't have time and he's going to go off to college soon. So I'm like, well, I better get back on the horse at some point. And don't like it. Probably I need to either have adopt a kid or find a new son. I can't wait till that happens. Oh, decided to adopt a child at your age. What made you think you want another child? Is it you have kids going to college and you miss them? It's like, actually, I just need the lawn mowed.
Need the lawn mowed.
Yeah. Well, all right. What else is going on? Oh, hey, I want to give a special congratulations to a hobby entrepreneur who happens to be, Troy, a Gong Show OG Patreon member, supporter of our show. His name is Mile High Wax Box OG. So it's a lot. Mile High Wax Box OG. It works, though. And as of this week, I believe he's now a full-time, meaning this is his job, hockey breaker on Whatnot. So love when people chase their entrepreneurial dreams, of course, especially in the hobby. And just wanted to thank him for his support of our show and go give him a follow on Whatnot and maybe check out one of his streams. So I don't know, anything else going on before we get going or?
Nothing besides the dogs are starting to bark because I'm talking and I realized I had a fan on in the background, but it's a new fan, a fancy dancy fan. So I got a little remote control here. I turned it off. Like I was going to get up and run over there and then I remembered I had the remote. So hopefully I apologize if people picked up the fan for the first couple minutes.
Have you ever talked about the hot box that is your office, which you record the show out of?
It sucks. It's like, this is one of the, it's above the garage or not above, but it's in a bad spot where it's in the summer, it's way too hot. And in the winter, it's way too cold. And every other room in our house is great, except this one. So it gets really hot in here during the summer.
It's like a sauna. Like I would be flop sweating if I
plus
tried
I
to
have
record.
A desktop PC that's pretty beefy for what it was 4 years ago, and it just pumps out heat. It just constantly.
All right. Well, we should get rolling. A lot to get into. Before we get started, though, just a reminder that our show, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast, is a Patreon podcast. What that means is we rely on supportive listeners like yourself to help us cover our show expenses, produce more and what we hope is better hockey card content, and then even fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. It's very easy to support us. We partner with Patreon to do that. You can join on a $1.99 support level tier. It's $5 a month. You also get access to our Gong Show Discord server and can chat with us and the rest of our crew there every day. It's very easy to do. If you want to support us, just go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. Click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page. Or if you want, go to the Patreon website directly, patreon.com. search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description, whether you're listening to us on a podcast app or happen to be watching us on YouTube. And then finally, in our TikTok and Instagram profiles, there's a link there too. We do have one new patron since our last show. Want to give a special shout out to Ryan Moss, who chatted with for a long time. Enjoyed the conversations on Instagram. He has joined a triple gold, so very, very thankful for that, and really appreciate your support. It helps us make everything we do possible. With that,
hey Troy, are you ready for the Gong Show? You're on mute, buddy. Still on mute, Troy.
Ready with the game plan?
There it is. I was waiting for it. All right. Oh my gosh, I didn't even write down a game plan. Oh, this is a disaster.
You can wing it. You've done this 200 times.
I know. So here, I'm just going to really wing it. I'm just going to go through the outline. Why did I forget the outline? Oh, the outline's not even on here. This is a mess. Okay. We begin the show with the almost greatest to wear numbers, almost greatest NHL player to wear number 7. Next, it's Confessions of a Card Dealer, Chapter 2. We then look at hobby news. This is followed by a little segment where we look at the off-season dip and give kind of a hockey market update to see if we can see any trends or anything going on with the off-season dip, as we like to call it. Next, it's new product releases, and we end the show with some of our favorite cards in the Fanatics Weekly. I almost said PWCC. Fanatics Weekly Hockey or Weekly Fanatics Weekly Card Auction, something like that. Our favorite hockey cards. This is a disaster.
Well, I've kind of found that I understand like why Fanatics is, because they have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they can't just call everything Fanatics. They have to call it like Fanatics Live, Fanatics Company Tops, Fanatics Tops, I guess. And so they couldn't just call the old PWCC Marketplace Fanatics.
Yeah.
And they're calling it Fanatics Collect. And it does not yet roll off the tongue as easy. I think it will at some point, but yeah, it's fairly easy to trip up on.
Especially when I have to try to think of it on the fly. Okay, let's begin. Previously, we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all the numbers, so now we are looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners up in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article. The almost greatest NHL player to wear number 7 per the nominees in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article, and selected by me, is Paul Coffey. Arguably, probably in the running for the greatest player to wear number 7. This one had a lot of good players. The other runners-up at number 7 were Rod Gilbert and Tim Horton. And as a reminder, the greatest to wear number 7 was Phil Esposito.
Couple of things. So first of all, that photo of Paul Coffey is amazing.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know, it's just a great shot.
Yeah.
And then only because I do a show with Jeremy Lee where we talk about vintage cards, it's Rod Gilbert.
Oh, is it Gilbert? What did I say, Gilbert?
Yeah, but that's what I would have said too.
I knew that though. I went and watched YouTube videos. That's my new thing. When I don't know a name, I go find a YouTube video and I just Gilbert.
I've done that too.
Got it. Okay. Paul Coffey, defenseman, born in Weston, Ontario, Canada, but grew up in Malton, Ontario, Canada. Coffey was drafted 6th overall in the 1980 NHL entry draft by the Edmonton Oilers. Coffey played in 1,409 regular season NHL games over a 21-season NHL career. Coffey played his first 7 seasons with the Edmonton Oilers. Then he played a little over 4 seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Next, it was a short stop with the Los Angeles Kings. He then went on to play 4 seasons with the Detroit Red Wings. His last 5 seasons, he kind of played all over the place with stops in Hartford, Philadelphia, Chicago, Carolina, and Boston. Jeez, he's like Yagerish. Yagerish with all those teams.
It's quite the game room with all the jerseys up on the wall there. So this reminded me of, at some point, maybe this summer even, Troy, that early 90s Penguins team was stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. With like Ron Francis, Lemieux, Yager, Coffey, Mark Recchi, right?
I think so. Don't ask me past Yager, Lemieux, Coffey. I think then I start
other people.
What was the goalie? Brasso? Was it Brasso then? I can't remember.
Maybe, I don't know. I just know that Mario Lemieux punked the North Stars in the Stanley Cup Finals.
He did. Okay, for awards and accomplishments for Paul Coffey, Hall of Famer, 4-time Stanley Cup winner as a player, 3 of those with Edmonton, 1 time with Pittsburgh. He's a 3-time Norris Trophy winner, 4-time NHL first All-Star team selection, 4-time NHL second All-Star team selection, 14-time NHL All-Star game selection, named to the NHL's top 100 players to ever play the game in 2017 by NHL.com. And his number 7 is retired by the Edmonton Oilers. For his career, 396 goals, which is second all-time for defensemen. 1,135 assists, which is 6th all-time for any player, 2nd all-time for defensemen. 1,531 points, 16th all-time for any player, 2nd all-time for defensemen. Do you know
who's number 1 in all those categories?
I know who it is, but it's the same guy.
Bork?
Yep, Ray Bork.
Yeah.
All right. Coffey made the playoffs in 16 of his 21 NHL seasons, compiling 59 goals, 137 assists for 196 points in 194 NHL playoff games played. Best regular season of Coffey's career from a point standpoint was his 85-86 season, where Coffey had 48 goals, 90 assists for 138 points in 79 games played with the Edmonton Oilers.
That's bananas. That's crazy.
Bananas. His 138 points was the second highest point total by a defenseman ever. Bobby Orr holds the record with 139 points in the 70-71 season. However, his 48 goals is the all-time record for goals by a defenseman in a season. He dang near had 50. That is for a defenseman. All right. Paul Coffey was known as an excellent offensive defenseman, known for his skating and scoring prowess. He was one of the greatest skating D the NHL has ever seen. I kind of just stole this line straight from his NHL top 100 profile. To watch Paul Coffey skate in his prime was to witness artistry of the highest order. It seemed effortless, a man zooming up the ice, attaining top speed in 2 or 3 strides, swerving to elude opponents like a kid speeding downhill on a skateboard. All this while shoehorning his size 8 feet into size 6 skates, the smaller boots providing better feel and improved control on the ice. I will say there are way more players than you think that do that. They
really?
Yeah, because they feel it gives them better control.
Wouldn't that have long-term effects on your feet though?
Probably. But I know a lot of players that do that. Coffey took the role of offensive defenseman into another orbit. His skating, vision, hockey sense, and big slap shot propelled him there. In addition, Coffey was able to use his excellent hockey sense and playmaking skills to confuse the opposition and set up teammates. All right. Coffey is currently an assistant coach with the Edmonton Oilers. He returned to behind the bench last season and was responsible for retooling the blue line for the Oilers. Coffey was responsible for getting the Oilers D to not shy away from making plays and moving the puck up ice. Seems kind of like he's modeling around what he did. Before this.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Before this, Coffey was a special advisor to the owner and chairman for the Oilers. So he had one of our favorite jobs, the special advisor role, but now he's actually on the ice. There's a ton of articles just in the last day or two that he's going to be back behind the bench. And that's I
read a lot that they thought he did it, made a big difference.
Yes.
There last year and had a huge impact on the team.
Yeah, he was definitely, besides the head coaching change, he was definitely one of the reasons that they kind of kicked it in gear there after. I remember the first month, right? We're like, oh my gosh, the Oilers aren't even going to make the playoffs. What's going on? This is nuts.
Yeah. I want a special advisor job so bad.
I know. I feel like do you think you sit in an office next to the owner and you just kind of look over and you're just walking in, giving random thoughts, or like me becoming totally unprepared for a show with no outline?
No, I think honestly the trick of it is to say as little as possible. So you're in the meeting, the owner looks at you and says, "Troy, what do you think of our goalie situation?" And then I think the move is you sit back and you're like, "I've heard a lot of interesting things. let's hear what the coach has to say next. And then everyone shakes their head and goes, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then you just cash checks.
Yep. They ask you your opinion, you just say yes. You'd be a yes man. There you go. You're a yes man. Okay. Fun, interesting facts for Paul Coffey. Coffey holds the longest point streak in NHL history by a defenseman at 28 games, and the next person isn't even, it's like 16 or something. It was way bad. So, yeah, pretty crazy. Coffey was afforded the opportunity to take off and join the Rush, as he always could rely on his defensive partner, Charlie Huddy, to be a solid stay-at-home defenseman. Coffey recalled that Huddy would give him the green light to jump up into the Rush by singing a snippet of the Men Without Hats song Safety Dance, which was popular at the time. He'd sing, "You can dance if you want to," Coffey said, and away Coffey would go, knowing Huddy had him covered on the back end. I know I read that fact, I think when we did Mount Rushmore of defense.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, I mean, I knew it was familiar, but it just cracks me up that they're skating around. All of a sudden, Charlie Huddy's like, "You can dance if you want to." All of a sudden, there goes Coffey taking off with the puck. All right. Coffey is the only defenseman in NHL history to score more than 40 goals in a season twice. There you go. Coffey holds or shares 33 NHL records in the regular season and playoffs. I don't know if that's technically true today. There might have been a couple that have been surpassed, but that was from like a year ago when I read that, or when I found that stat. The source was a year ago. Okay. Josh, rookie cards. Here it is. 1981, OPC. Whoa, we're way too zoomed in. Sorry, YouTubers. 1981, OPC, number 111. Paul Coffey rookie card. Great looking picture. Great looking Coho sticks. Great looking thick Cooper gloves, probably. Love this picture. PSA 10 pop is 24 with a gem rate of 1%. Last sale of a PSA 10 copy I could find of this card was on March 30th of this year via Golden, where this card sold for $5,032.50 US. Pretty penny, but maybe, I don't know, seems cheap. Hall of
I was just
Famer.
going to ask you, do you think he gets the respect he's due?
So when he came into the league, obviously he was an offensive juggernaut, but there was some questions about his defensive play, but he kind of answered those. When you win the Norris 3 times, it's not, well, maybe it is because you score a lot, Carlson. I don't that was always a knock on him too, right?
Shots fired.
There you go.
Fired.
No, there was a lot of talk that Coffey, but he showed himself he can play D as well. Obviously, he's an offensive defenseman, so the points came. Played on juggernauts of a team. I mean, think about this. You come down the Oilers and when Coffey's with them, Gretzky, Messier, Curry, all those guys, they're flying up the ice, and even if one of them drops out, here comes Coffey flying up as like a replacement forward. So it's nuts. It's they're pretty stacked.
Part of that been the strategy though too. Like you referenced sort of the Charlie Huddy thing, where maybe that was the Oilers' plan, was for him to sacrifice on the defensive end in order to use his offensive talents, knowing that they had a bedrock defenseman behind him.
And you got to remember that just was such a foreign concept. I mean, we had Orr that revolutionized the game by doing that, but it's like, and every once in a while you get a D would do it, but teams didn't adopt it. Now it's like expected. Like you look at all this advanced analytics stuff and all this video we watch, and it's like, oh, it's pretty amazing how many more shot opportunities or shot attempts you get when your D jump up into the play. And it's becoming, I know people get on me when I say this, but hockey is becoming like soccer, where it's interchangeable people. I bet at some point forwards and like we've kind of adopted looking at forwards and backs is how we kind of call it. And they're going to be interchangeable at some point. I don't know how long it's going to take, but at some point people are going to know how to play every role on the ice. And
well, that's like that happened in basketball for the last 10 years. It's positionless, right? Where you have your 7-footer who's the best passer on your team. And it's like, well, why isn't this person the point guard?
Yeah.
And the conventional rule of thumb was, well, he's 7 foot, so he has to be a center. And it's like, I don't think so. Right. And that the Europeans, I wonder where that's coming from in hockey, if it's Europe as well, because it's the Europeans that I think in basketball really ushered that concept.
You know what's coming from are the nerdy analytics people that are getting into the NHL now. How many times have we seen this? These guys that ran these analytic websites get hired by NHL teams to do an analytics for them, but they're the ones pushing some of this new stuff on. And it's a constant battle, right? It's just you got old school philosophies and new school, and it's nuts.
Okay, so I want to geek out on this just for one more second. I have a question for you because you know way more of the whole hockey analytics thing than I do. So in basketball again, which was more my sport growing up, the other way that analytics really changed that game was it's basically got to the point where they've said you either need to drive to the basket and try to dunk it or shoot a layup or shoot a three. Like, there's no value to the mid-range game.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's basically what basketball has become. Right? Is there something similar to that in hockey? Like
we saw it, we see it with it's a stat called Corsi. It means absolutely nothing. It doesn't stand for anything, but it does. It means shot attempts. And what they're finding is Corsi or shot attempts is actually a way better indicator of win-loss prediction. If you're going to win or lose, is basically how your Corsi 4%. And then all of a sudden they start applying this to individual players. So Corsi was the first thing that kind of just revolutionized everything. Goalie advanced analytics are still way behind. Who knows if anyone will figure out goalie stuff? It's been kind of a mountain they're trying to climb, these analytics people. But Corsi was the one that started. Now there's a whole bunch of stats. There's Fenwick. I could sit here and we can go on forever. These are the ones just popping in my head real quick.
Isn't there something like with the slap shot though? Isn't that going away?
Yeah, slap shots, because what they found, what do you think about it? If you wind up, you're giving the goalie that extra half a second or whatever it is.
You're telegraphing what's coming.
Yeah, and to get into position. So girls' game, they're basically are zero slap shots. Part of that's just they don't actually work on those a lot. But even the NHL, the slap shot's a dying thing. I think that The Athletic ran an article where they looked at the percentages of slap shots by year, and it's dwindling because it's now quickness and speed of your shot. Because guess what? Some of these snapshots are about as fast or faster than some people's slap shots. So if you can get it off faster, go for it.
Yeah, it's like gone are the days of the Al McInnes, right? Booming.
Yeah.
Sort of slap
Well,
shot.
plus the whole Royal Road concept where passes across this imaginary line that runs through the middle half of the rink, from goal line to goal line. Guess what? If you get a goalie moving across that line, you're going to score more. It's just amazing how that works. But it's funny how all this stuff took so long to actually click.
Crazy. All right. Good job. Fun to learn about Paul Coffey. We're going to move on, though, to Confessions of a Car Dealer. Chapter 2, Troy.
Here we go.
We're back with Chapter 2 of our series, Confessions of a Car Dealer, where our buddy Sylvain, we're kind of going along a little journey, following his journey, the ups, downs, and all the in-betweens of what life is like as a hockey car dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So in Chapter 1, Troy, we got to know Sylvain a little bit more, where he's from, what got him into this crazy business, and kind of all the other good background type information. If you did miss it, we'd recommend going back and checking out episode 201, where we did sort of the first segment with Sylvain. And today we wanted, I think, now that we got the background info, our goal was to get into it a little bit more, get into the wheeling and dealing, kind of what cards he's targeting, deals he's making, wins, losses, and all that good sort of stuff. So we hope you enjoy our second conversation with Sylvain. Chapter 2, this is Confessions of a Card Dealer.
There's some singing now.
Where's that coming from? You hit a button, Troy? I didn't hit a button. Oh, I know what that means. That means it's time for another Confessions with a Car Dealer. This time, Chapter 2. It's our second time with Sylvain. If you missed it, check out episode 201, where we got to know Sylvain a little bit, went through your background, learned you're from Eastern Canada at a place that Troy and I are still not convinced is real.
Moncton. I know it, Moncton.
Where what we learned is, according to Sylvain, people don't really speak French. They don't really speak English, but you speak both French and English. So go figure.
Exactly.
Go figure that out. And Sylvain is a car dealer. And what he's agreed to do is come on every couple weeks and kind of update us on the life of a car dealer and give an honest perspective of what it's like. And so, well, the first place I want to start is kind of the whole summer thing. So we're in now the middle of the off season, the middle of summer, kind of the nothing going on really from a hockey perspective. I think the Blue Jackets hired a coach. That's what the biggest news in the past week.
Our old coach.
Our old coach,
Levinson.
Creed from The Office. Did you see that? Doppelganger kind of.
Oh, yeah. He's totally Creed from The Office. Hey, good job, Columbus. You got a good coach. Be happy.
So what does a hockey card dealer do at the end of July, beginning of August? Like, what's your life like right now?
Good question, Josh. First of all, thanks for having me on for episode 2. Hopefully it means I did something right on episode 1. So I'm excited to keep this going. It's a good question. Like, honestly, summertime has always been, because this is, I want to say, my 4th summer. So this is still, I still feel I'm wet behind the ears and I still have a lot to learn. I think being a card vendor is something that takes years to master, like 5 to 10 years. With that said, during the summer, usually I would stock up a ton and hope for it to go up in September or October. That's backfired the last, few summers. So right now I'm kind of just, I didn't find the prices go down that much. I haven't seen the prices go down that much. Yeah. So, I find maybe a lot of people are thinking that, I'm going to hold this for September, October. So the supply is a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. So, and if the demand is not, if the demand isn't as low, the prices are going to stay, right? So I did buy a lot, and I posted this on my Instagram. I bought 5 Austin Matthews PSA 10 Young Guns and a Draisaitl PSA 10 Young Guns from a good buddy of mine who is a card dealer who also he graded those cards himself. Okay. Grade your cards yourself. You have way more profit, to like you have a much bigger, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for, but you have more room to play with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's giving me a really good deal where I think I can make, I don't know, about $200 per Matthews if I sold them right now. I might sell 1 or 2 because the supply is still kind of low and they still go for about $1,100 Canadian. And I might hang on to 3, hope that they go up September or October. So right now I'm actually in a little bit of an analysis paralysis mode where I'm not committing to any purchases right now. I think if I were to spend, I am sitting on, a bit of money. I think if I were to purchase something, it'd be a collection or a lot, and hopefully a mixture of graded and raw, or just raw where I can grade myself.
Sure.
It's really when you grade yourself that you get, especially when you hit 10s, that you get the most on your ROI. Mm-hmm. You never know what you're going to get, right? So if it's a really popular player that's easy to move, like Austin Matthews, I don't mind buying it already graded as a 10 and moving it for, 15%, 20% profit versus buying it raw, grading it, getting a 10 and hoping for 100% profit. Sometimes when you hope like that, you'll usually hit a 9.
Yeah. Well, what do they say? Wish in one hand, do something in the other, and see which fills first, right?
Yeah.
That's how that goes. Now, we did a little bit of a pre-meeting just to get an idea what was going on and sort of where we wanted to take our conversation. And I thought what came out of it is, and this is really what we want to do. You've had, I think, and we'll learn more about, you're kind of sitting on what looks like to be a pretty big win. And then you've had kind of a pretty big loss too, just to balance out sort of that it is to some degree a gamble and you have to learn through your mistakes and all that. But let's be fun and let's start with the win. And I have a little bit of a preamble to this. So, and I'm not going to give all the details, Sylvain. I'll let you do that. But you bought a lot.
Yep.
When you were going to buy it, I got to be transparent. I'm like, I don't think I would do that. Like, I was just like, my instincts were telling me no. And, we'll get into some of the reasons why in a second. But it turns out it's kind of been a big win for you. So once again, I know nothing. And this is why I'm not a car dealer. But why don't you explain the lot that you bought and kind of what's unfolded to this point?
Sure. So and to be fair, when I bought it, I also wasn't 100% sure, but I did consult with an experienced vendor And his answer was easy money at that price. He said easy money. And I was still kind of scared to buy for this much. So yeah, it was a Zach Hyman collector. I purchased it for a certain amount, you know, it was in the 4 figures. It was a lot of around 40 some cards. Some of them were graded, some of them are raw. I did get them in the mail, so I didn't get to inspect the raw cards before receiving them, or before actually before committing to buying them. And so I didn't know how well those would grade, right? The raw ones.
Okay, well, I just want to stop you like really quick though, because and this is like where, and I don't know how you felt, because this you were kind of communicating in one of the group chats we're on about that you were thinking about buying this lot, and my thought was, yes, Zach Hyman scored 50 goals last year. He did play. There's the Toronto kind of tie into him. It was a nice story, but as we know, like one of sort of the rules of the hobby is that there's one usually big hobby chase per team. A few teams there's 2, but not many. There's definitely not 3, and 4 is not going to happen, right? And then you got the Oilers where you have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, and then you have, you know, the third could be Hyman, could be Evan Bouchard, could be some other people. And that was my concern, is there enough of a chase for this guy? But again, I'm an American. I don't understand the Canadian market. And so I just wanted to throw in, like, when I was thinking,
right,
I don't know if I would do this, I guess that's where I was coming from.
So where my thought process was like, this cost me less than 2 McDavid PSA 10s. So 40 some cards cost me less than 2 McDavid PSA 10s. And you had some high-end stuff there, like Future Watch Auto inscribed. There were 4 Future Watch Auto inscribed. One of them was a PSA 10, 2 were BGS 9.5, one of them was raw. And I cracked the BGS 9.5s and sent them to PSA. They're currently being graded now. And the PSA 10 sold for about 20% of the entire lot that I bought. So I think when you have high-end cards of a player that might not be McDavid level or superstar level, high-end cards, there are still some player collectors out there that will pay decent money for
the right card.
Yes, exactly. And there were several of those bangers in that lot. And now there were quite a few Young Gun raws, Young Gun silver foil raws, and nothing too expensive, but I think I paid on average, about like $8 per raw Young Gun. And when I got them all, there's only, I think there were about 20 raw cards in there. There's only 3 of them that I decided not to grade. So all the rest of them, around 18 cards, are at PSA. I think actually I said 18. I cracked BGS. I think there's around 21 or 22 cards at PSA right now being graded. So
okay, so would you say, like, in any successful deal, no matter how many of the bases you cover, I's you dot, T's you cross, that there's sometimes an element of luck that comes into it too?
100%, absolutely. And I'm at the point now where I know what traps to avoid because I've done them, or I've fallen into those traps, and I'm getting better at calculating my risks, but it's still not an exact science. There is a lot of luck involved. If all of these raw were in terrible shape, my profit could have been way less. I've sold about 12 or 13 of the 40 cards, and I'm at about 90% from breaking even. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so you're almost at like guaranteed profit level at this point. Now, Troy, when he was in our chat saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying this lot," what were you thinking?
I just won because I know who Zach Hyman is, but I have no clue what his market was, so there was no way I would touch these. But given I didn't think about the whole two Connor McDavid PSA 10s were more expensive than 40 Zach Hymans, who's coming off a career year. Now it's like making a little more sense to me, but I would have not done it just because I didn't know Zach Hyman that well, his market. I mean, I know he had a good year, and it's just like I didn't come out of nowhere, but man, he's usually a 20-goal scorer, and all of a sudden he's got 50. So I mean, buy and move fast as possible.
Well, and Savannah, another, I think, really important point that you made that's good for everyone to know, whether it's for a PC or in flipping type thing or whatever your goal is, you weren't afraid to ask other people's opinions and
Oh,
say, am I
100%.
crazy here? Or this looks like a good deal. Is it a good deal? What do you think? What would you do? I think there's a lot of value to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the things that I didn't expect to cherish so much out of the hobby. Don't get me wrong, I love my collectibles. I love the inanimate objects that I get to keep, but it's the relationships and the chatter and the talking. Like, even just like our friendship now, it's just like I have friends who are collectors. I have friends who are vendors. I have friends in the hobby in whatever capacity, whether they're in it as a business or as anything. So it's really it's pretty awesome. And I think honestly, and it is a little bit of a slippery slope because I like receiving advice, but I like giving advice too, but I can't be giving advice, all day long. I have even since my first episode, I had people reach out, say, what do you think this card's worth? And like, that's a question I get a lot. And I used to just look it up for them and tell them, but now I tell them how to find it.
Oh, that's what we do too.
Yeah, we get that too. I got a question. So this is kind of going off the rails. Apologies for the dog barking in the background. But have you ever had it, and maybe this was earlier when you started out dealing, have you ever had where you were talking to someone for advice and all of a sudden they kind of figure out who you were talking to and then kind of went around your back to try to see if they could get the deal? I've always wondered how that works when there's so many people talking and not everyone's a friend. Not everyone.
Yeah, no, that's true. That hasn't happened to me yet.
I was hoping for so spicy. I'm a tabloid journalist. Let's go.
Moncton is quite small.
I guess. Yeah.
So maybe if I was
it
in
exists.
Toronto.
Oh yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, but if I was in Toronto, maybe that'd be different. I remember having two friends from Toronto. One of them was like, I'm trying to win this card. Don't you bid on it. I was like, I would never do this. He's like, oh, my friend would. And I was like, well, if it's not, you found it first. I would never do that kind of thing. But I think Maritimers are a little bit too nice sometimes, maybe to our detriment. But it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, so to kind of tie out the whole Zach Hyman lot conversation, when's your goal? Like, in an ideal world, when do you have all these sold by and kind of tally up your profits at that point?
I want to say probably September or October. As soon as those cards come back from PSA, I'm probably going to move a bunch. What's funny is give you an example. One of those cards was an acetate Young Guns. I had it at the Montreal show for $300. I had it priced at $300. No one bid. I didn't even get a nibble in Montreal. I sent it to Slab Sharks and it sold for $555. So at this point, I do want some for my regulars, because I know a lot of my regulars here in Moncton, they like to come at my table, see what I have new. I do like to try to sell it to my regulars before I send my inventory to Slab Sharks. I'm so close to the break-even point right now that I don't mind waiting till the first show in Moncton comes up before moving these. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm hoping by October or November they'll be moved, and I don't mind if he goes down a little bit in price.
Yeah, because it's all kind of gravy at this point. Now, how repeatable is this scenario? Is this kind of like a once in a blue moon find, or can you kind of rinse and repeat with this strategy a few times?
Well, it's funny if you if you find lots online or like either on Facebook or even on eBay, sometimes you'll have some sellers that sell lots, especially the auction ones. It can be repeatable. I think I was very lucky. It's the first time a lot of this kind of magnitude came into my orbit. And I also, funny enough, like 3-4 weeks prior to that, I bought a vintage lot of like maybe just 12 cards, but I bought it. One of them was a Bobby Orr rookie, graded a CSG 1.5, and I cracked that and send that to PSA. And I think even if it gets a PSA 1 at the price I paid for the lot, I think it's going to be, easy gravy. It's like I'm counting my blessings here because yeah, they don't come all the time, but I've also realized that the more money that you have, not that I have a ton of money, but like the more money that you have to spend on cards, the easier it is to buy a lot because you have cash. The person wants to liquidate, and if you're ready to pay, and that's kind of why I'm sitting on my, almost 5-figure stack because I'm looking for the right lot because those so far have been the most profitable. It doesn't mean I'll find it, and I might find another deal elsewhere, but that's why I kind of have that ready for if I do find a lot. I might even make a Facebook post like buying a collection and hoping that they'll come to me and then I'll pick the right one.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's a nice win. Congratulations. We're happy for you. Of course, we root for you to win in everything you do. Now, you had also brought up again, a cool goal. This is transparency, right? Is that you're not one of these guys that is out there on social media with the Midas touch, right? Everything you do turns to gold, right? Is that you have to, well, you can look at it, I guess, a certain way. You win either way. You either make money or you learn a valuable lesson, and you're prepared to talk about, I guess, one of your valuable lessons. So what was that strategy?
Yeah. So this strategy, so when the Series 1 came out, my buddy's a huge Devils fan, and we were watching the game and we were watching Ty Smith play. And I was like, oh, I don't think his young gun was in Series 1. I was like, okay, it's in Series 2. And when that came out, I bought a boatload of Ty Smith young guns on ComC and through ePacks because I do have a friend who buys exclusively on ePacks and he sends it to PSA. And his gem rate is actually pretty good. So I did have that approach for a while. I bought about 30 Ty Smith young guns. And back then there were about 20 Canadian, but I also bought like 20 French ones, which were like $45 Canadian. And then I sent them for grading. This was while PSA was on lockdown. I sent them for grading, and a lot of them came back 10s. I have a huge stack here. It's it's
what is this 2021?
The 2021 Series 2.
Okay.
And one of them actually, the French one graded an SGC 10 gold label pristine, which is, that was pretty sweet.
That's a tough grade.
Yeah, absolutely. I was super ecstatic about these, but I realized now that back then I was buying much faster than I could move stuff. And this was a card where I'm like, oh man, I bought this, I want to say in like April and May. So like they hadn't made the playoffs that year. So I'm like, okay, come October or November, they'll bounce back. And then he ended up getting traded to Pittsburgh and then getting demoted to the AHL. And I was like, oh my, okay. So I at this point, I've just kept them as a reminder. And Josh, I was certain. When I was doing this, I was certain. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna make so much money on this. This is gonna work out so well. I find the faster you can be humble and not be so certain about any of your decisions in the hobby, I think the better you'll do. So that was a humbling experience, and it probably cost me. Back then, it was $40 per card to grade Canadian. So it's not a huge sum, but I mean, it's about $1,200 to $1,500 that now is probably worth all these cards together are probably worth $200. So yeah, it was definitely a humbling lesson. And I have them as a reminder to like not be so sure when you make a move. And I think I also went all in on one player. I don't think you shouldn't be looking for one player. You should just be looking for good deals.
Oh, and a prospect too. If you're going to go all in, go on Mario Lemieux, probably. I'm assuming. But, and actually, you tell me if you agree or disagree, and maybe you too, Troy. I have this sort of theory that a lot of new collectors kind of prescribe to, and it's wrong. And I think I was the same way. I think when you come into the hobby and you're first getting into it and you're looking at it, you assume that time is your friend. And what I mean by that is you think, okay, I'm going to buy all these Ty Smith. I'm going to get them graded. I'm going to sit on them for 6 months, and they're going to go up in huge amount of value. I think in actuality, though, when it comes to dealing, time is actually not your friend. That that more often time kills you
Absolutely.
versus helps you. Would you agree?
100%. Now I treat it. I had a vendor who is really successful in this space. He's like, you need to treat your money and your cards like a hot potato. As soon as you have money, you have to want to spend it on something. And then as soon as you have inventory, you want to move it as fast as you can. During the pandemic, I was maybe moving 20% of my inventory and holding 80%, thinking, oh, it's just going to keep going up. And then I'm going to, it's going to be
Cash in.
Yeah, I was treating them as like I would stocks. Like I would dollar cost average in ETFs and which is a good strategy, but not with cards. So I learned that the hard way, and you treat it like hot potato both ways. So I sold it, like I said, about 20 or 25% of my inventory and held on to the rest. Well, a lot of those were SGC graded cards. I was like, well, my theory, and I was new, and I had a theory, was like, well, SGC has really good turnaround time. PSA is taking like a year and a half. I heard some people took like a year and a half to get their cards. People are going to be so impressed by SGC that you're going to see more and more young guns, and people are going to start buying SGC. That was my kind of thesis, and in practice, it did not. It didn't pan out at all. So yes, time is not your friend. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't invest in cards. If you buy a McDavid PSA 10 when he dips and you have $3,000 to park, that's not necessarily a bad move, but you're just if you're not a vendor and you're just a collector and you want to own a card that you think is going to go up in 5 years, great.
Sure.
Do that. But if you're a vendor, the faster you move stuff, the better. Even if it goes up 50% in 3 months. I remember beating myself up like, oh my God, Kill Makar. I sold my Kill Makar for $500, my PSA 10, and it went up to 900. Oh, I should have waited. And no, I realized too, when it went up to $900 Canadian, that window was very small, and you can't be chasing those small windows. And I'm actually happy because the guy who bought it from me for $500, he's a returning customer. He didn't feel like I sold it to him at the peak just to make a quick dollar. And so that's something to consider as well. Like, you want to move it as fast as you can to be fair and to have repeat customers.
The other thing I think about when reflecting on your like Ty Smith experience is, an almost any given year when we're excited about the new players and the prospects and the rookies, we can convince ourselves of about 15 guys oh my gosh, this guy, look at this here. You've got Matthew Nyes, Luke Hughes, Brock Faber, Leo Carlson, Adam Fantilli, Simon Nemec, Connor Bedard, of course. I mean, we could literally come up, I think, with 15 guys, no problem. Devin Levi, Dustin Wolf, right?
Right.
But then now, fast forward 5 years, and when you look back 5 years down the road, we're lucky if there's one hobby relevant guy from that year. And we, as like a hobby, always forget that.
Absolutely.
That most of these guys are not going to pan out.
I agree. And I think the guys who are worth investing in have already exploded. Like a McDavid, like a Matthews. You're not going to find the diamond in the rough. That you might get lucky, but you might as well buy a lotto ticket. Unless you really like that player and you want to collect him. I still think you should wait a year or two. If you really like that player and you want to collect him, you'll get him much cheaper, but you're not going to find that diamond in the rough. Even if you watch a lot of hockey and you're prospecting, you're like, oh my God, this kid is really good. He's going to go places. He might, but his hobby relevancy might be gone because there might be another player from that same team that just got drafted number one and he's killing it. And one more thing to touch on selling it fast. And we were talking about this before, during our warm up, is I'd rather, right now I had people wanting to sell me lots, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather wait until September and sell them in October. And even if I have to pay a little bit more for the lot, I'd rather pay a little bit more in September and move it in a few weeks to buy it now and hope that it goes up in October. I have bought lots in the summer in the past that didn't go up, and or 30% of the guys went up, but 50% of the guys dropped, like 50%. I remember buying a 5-figure lot about a year from now, a year ago, and there were a lot of guys like Tyler Bertuzzi, PSA 10, like they had just gotten traded to the Leafs, and Bertuzzi, Max Domi. There were a lot of new Leaf players in PSA 10s. They were like, that summer they sold for like 180 Canadian. By the time the season came, and I was at shows and it was time to move stuff, they were like $70, and there were probably like 20 to 30 PSA 10s of those players. So whatever profit I made on the other guys got killed by those guys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a challenging game for sure. And I guess the last question I have for you today along the lines of this conversation is, and I this is related again to the whole factor of time thing. I think what makes it particularly hard is it's not just the hockey world and the hockey cycle and the hobby cycle. You have to worry about the macro world
Absolutely.
too. And with our country driving so much of the world economy, and I think as we know, it ain't exactly stable here right now. If you're sitting buying a lot expecting to sit on it in 5 months, I would just assume you have to be party has to be thinking, I don't know what the world's going to look like 5 months from now.
100%. I hear a lot of people when I'm at shows, they're talking about Ovechkin. They're like, "Oh my God, I heard someone tell me he bought 30 Ovechkin Young Guns because when he breaks the record, he's going to explode." And I told him, "Dude, be careful. Just because one of the arguments, but look at the prices Gretzky fetched. It was like there are so many nuances between Ovechkin and Gretzky, especially with their rookie cards. Like there are like 3 or 4 PSA 10 Gretzkys. There's more than 3 or 4 PSA 10 Ovechkin Young Guns, but there's also, macroeconomics. Like, yes, even if that player has a bright future, who knows what the economy is going to be like in 2 years? He could technically be selling at a high price in 2 years, but if everything else went down because the economy is not great, you lost money. So it is very, but it's very tough to master, and I don't even think I'll ever fully master it, but learning the process is something I have shivers just talking about it. I love that I found something that's so complicated and nuanced, yet I have some skill that complement my journey, including like sales. My sales skills are pretty decent, that I love. When I make mistakes, I don't beat myself up. And I'm like, okay, that's a learning experience. I love the whole process. And to be honest, guys, like I've been doing this 4 years. In my pocket, paid myself, I might have pocketed $2,000 like in this 4 years. Everything was reinvested into, I have a separate checking account for cards. And it's been like that for almost 4 years. And I could have probably paid myself a little bit more during the pandemic when the sales were high, but I learned my lesson because I was reinvesting in cards and then it all went down, which was, it was too bad. I could have probably paid myself an extra 10 grand and still be where I am at now, but 10 grand in 20 years from now, because I'm in this for the long haul, and in 20 years from now, 10 grand's not going to be much.
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback off of a comment you made a minute or two ago, I don't think you can use Wayne Gretzky as a comparison for anything in this hobby. He's a total outlier. There's nothing that's even relevant in the same universe that his cards live in. And so it's anytime somebody wants to compare Ovechkin or Crosby or anyone to Gretzky, it's probably a moot argument at that point. Okay, well, we're going to check back in a few weeks. Before we let you go, though, so I assume then you're just kind of on the lookout for lots. If people have anything that might be interesting, they should reach out to you and
reach out to me on Instagram or Sylvain at slabsharks.com, SYLVAIN at slabsharks.com. And I'd love to negotiate and see if we can work out a deal. And for probably my next appearance, I'll probably have those Zach Hyman cards and a few more cards back from grading. And yeah, so that's something to look forward to.
All right. Any other questions for Sylvain Troy before we let him go? Yeah, mute, bud.
Failed. The dogs were barking, so I went on mute, and then I failed to take myself off mute. I need a big mute icon that shows me on mute. No, I'm just fascinated by this whole process. I know I would totally suck at it, so that's why it's nice to hear someone that's actually good at it and an expert kind of give advice.
Right. Well, I don't consider myself an expert yet, but I appreciate that. And the thing is, I knew that I was meant for this when I failed a few times. And I didn't want to quit. I didn't want to throw in the towel. I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to keep doing this. Had I lost, 20 grand, like that, maybe I would have, okay, maybe this isn't for me. But I've had as many wins as I've had losses. And I think with experience and my calculated risks and my educated guesses and just getting a better understanding of the landscape, I think, it's going to start looking better as depending on the moves that I make.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a few weeks for another Confessions of a Car Dealer. Thank you very much, Sylvain, for coming on and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Okay. We'll be back in a few weeks to check in again with Sylvain for another edition of Confessions of a Car Dealer. But I thought a really interesting conversation, Troy. What did you learn?
You're telling me car dealers don't have 100% success rate? I would never know that from all the stuff I see on social media. It seems like that's all they do.
Instagram, you would never
roll in the money. Oh, look at all these deals I've made, all this money I've made. No, I love the honesty. I love hearing about the wins. I like hearing of instances where there wasn't a win or there's some losses. It's the reality of the business. Not all businesses are 100% successful.
Mm-hmm. I think there is something to the longer you do something, the more experienced you are, that you get a knack for certain things, and you're maybe better able to identify deals that typically will work out. But as we'll get into a little bit later on when we're going over the market, there's no way to predict what's going to happen with any card values. There's just no way.
Well, plus,
you can slice and dice all you want.
Yeah, with what I don't know, losses maybe is the wrong term, but it's like you do win because you learn a lesson. Yeah. You learn something that you put in your file cabinet of knowledge, and so you can remember that next time a situation like that comes up.
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to going to the pandemic, right? Where that was kind of more of a viable strategy. It's like everything was going up so fast, everything was moving so fast. Oh, here's a young prospect. Like, I don't know if I would have picked Ty Smith just because he probably wasn't in our orbit.
Yeah.
Like other guys were, but it's like, oh, Dylan Cousins, right? From the same year. He's going to be awesome. I should go buy 70 of his young guns. Well, Phil, right? How many?
Yeah.
About 300 Shane Pinto young guns.
Yes.
Yikes. So I just love it, though. I love his honesty. I love the fact that he's willing to kind of let us behind the curtain and talk candidly about some of these deals, because I think it demystifies, right? Some stuff like this, and we all learn. It lets us learn from some of the lessons that he's kind of had to go through too. So very excited to come back again in a few weeks. Okay. Got to make a quick mention for Gong Show partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Of course, we are thankful for their support of our show. The current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction is live, ends tonight. Be sure to head to slabsharks.com, place your bids on the more than 2,200 cards closing in the auction. And if by chance you're listening after Thursday and you missed the auction close, no worries. Once one auction ends, the next one begins. So there's always great cards to choose from at slabsharks.com. I don't know, Troy, you find any Pekka Rinne's closing tonight or anything?
I'm not sure. You know what? Have we talked? We got to ask Slab Sharks. I need a sport filter on this website.
Oh, yeah. I
don't know if they can add it or if they can or they're working on it. I mean, again, a ton of it. It's all hockey basically, but it's just not. I would like to.
What do like basketball cards offend you or something like that?
No, they don't offend me. It's just when I'm showing these cards, here's my Gretzky. Oh, it's at $800. I knew that thing would never last where it was. Yeah, there's so many just awesome cards.
For the sake of our show, can you add a sport filter, please, Slab Sharks? Well, if you're a Canadian hockey cards collector, we really think you should check out Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services. Why? Well, they make it very easy to sell your cards on eBay because they do all the work. You can be lazy and make money. And hey, what's better than that? It's like the dream. I think that job and being a special advisor, you could do both.
That's our
you'd
two.
have it made. So you're being lazy, you're making money, and all while taking comfort in the fact that Slab Sharks has taken care of you. They got your back. They'll list your cards, take professional photos, answer buyer questions, hunt down payment from winners. They ship to buyers, whether they're in Canada or the US. And you don't have to worry about international shipping, which is a huge pain. A huge pain. And most importantly, they'll handle any post-sale issues. That sounds pretty good to me, Troy. Plus, you get your cards listed in their super popular and somehow still growing weekly auction. So for complete consignment information, including payout rates, and to start the consignment process today, head to slabsharks.com.
Okay, I have to say something. That Ken Dryden I showed.
Yeah.
Holy cow, it's at $311. it like shot up. This was the one Phil's like, I find these all over in boxes. Obviously, they're not autographed, but it's kind of crazy how just added that.
Yeah, you said like garage sale kind of finds,
yeah,
right?
They find it all over. I love this card. Holy cow.
Oh, you got Troy. Might have to spend a little money.
Ooh.
The card needs to be in your house.
There we go.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, we're ready.
Happy news.
Happy news.
Oh, that's amazing.
Extended.
Oh,
am I taking your spotlight? Am I trying to step on your touchdown call? What's going on?
I'd be lying if I didn't say I was nervous. Because that was pretty impressive. And I'm gonna go work harder, and I'm gonna practice in front of the mirror. I'm gonna say it 1,000 times between now and next show, and we'll see if I can.
I'm trying to make up. I'm so like I got PTSD from that opening. It was so bad. Like imagine if this was someone's first time, and they're like listening to us.
Probably
like,
is. Yeah,
oh my god, these people don't even know how to talk.
What they're like? What episode is this? 207.
Don't worry, nothing new. Nothing new.
Yeah. Oh, we've said it 100 times, but the only good decision we've ever made in the history of the show is by naming it the Gong Show, because that is complete license to be idiots, and that's what it works. Okay, Fanatics. So Troy, they are taking a stand. They're saying no.
Okay.
Auto only graded cards.
Explain this to me because I'm not 100% sure what it means.
It's really confusing at first, and then if I do a good job explaining it, because it's like once you get it, you get it. So I think I can do this. I've been thinking about this. First of all, I got to mention sad announcement for Fanatics. They will no longer be accepting cards for sale on their platforms, and whether buy now or auctions on the Fanatics Collect platform, where only the auto is authenticated. And it does sound more complicated than it is. So PSA has a service where you can grade cards that are autoed, and you can choose only to have the auto authenticated and grading. So have you ever seen a slab that says trading card?
The first time I really remember seeing it was like 2 weeks ago or a week ago on one of the cards we looked at or something. I saw that it said trading card, and I was just like, oh, okay. Like I'm not a grading expert.
In that case, you're saying to PSA, don't even bother authenticating whether this card is real. Just call it a generic trading card. What we want you to do is authenticate and grade the autograph on the card.
And is that only on an in-person auto, or would that also be on a pack pulled auto? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, can I say just authenticate my pack pulled auto? Does that still get the trading card designation?
I think it's an in-person auto.
Okay.
It creates a lot of confusion, right? So you could buy a reprint of a Wayne Gretzky and get it autographed. And then where it says trading card, but then says auto authenticated grade 10 gem mint or something like that, that could potentially confuse someone that's examining the card in the marketplace as to whether or not that the card is real or not. So I think what they're saying is that these are no longer going to be acceptable. And I think I have an example of this that we can show on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see us as trading card Wayne
Gretzky. Yes.
And then PSA, right?
Yeah. So auto grade. I don't know what that means. Auto grade. What's that mean?
That means that the Gem Mint 10 is the auto grade.
It's the auto. That's a Gem Mint 10 Gretzky auto. Let's talk about that.
I think he had like the fever shivers
I
when he
don't
did
know.
it, but
There's some missing ink, and yeah, this
does
is.
that even look like I'm no auto like
See,
expert.
that's where I get just some of this stuff is so like the. I mean, if I was, I would never authenticate an in-person auto. People are too good.
Mhm.
You'll see those FBI stats where it's something ridiculous, like 30 to 40% of sports memorabilia is fake. Like it's crazy.
Ugh.
There's just like,
Yeah.
ugh. Anyways,
Isn't it 80% of all stats are made up?
true.
So what they're saying, and I agree with it, is that this can be misleading, and we don't want to have. We're trying to be a collector's first platform, and we don't want to mislead people. So we're just going to say we're no longer accepting any card where only the autograph is authenticated. You can sell in-person auto cards, but both the trading card and the auto have to be authenticated at least. It doesn't have to be, it could be 1979 OPC Wayne Gretzky authentic and then the auto grade, but you can't, but the card has to be authenticated too.
Okay, I would like to give an update. As I was talking, or as you were talking, I did a little research.
You did? Oh, wow.
FBI and their Operation Bullpen, which was in April 2000, so it's a long time ago, they estimated 50 to 90% of all sports memorabilia is fake. There you go.
That's comforting. Thank you,
That's
Troy.
comforting.
Yeah. Well, I'll sleep well tonight now.
Yeah, a
and
long time ago, though. Old
thank
stat,
you
maybe.
for- long time. Yeah, so it's probably gotten way better since
That's
then.
way better.
So I'm in favor of this. Are you? Move?
Yes, for 100%. Yes, I don't know. I've never. Just autos always scare me when they're in person. They're not pack pulled. Like personally, like if I go get one for my personal collection, that's fine. But I don't think I would ever buy an in-person auto like on eBay.
Mhm.
I'm not that trustworthy. Plus I know those stupid FBI stats, and I get all worried. Like now, if it's a Pecorine, an in-person auto is going to be about $20, $30.
Maybe risk it.
Maybe I'll risk it, but.
I think it's a smart move by Fanatics. We need to acknowledge again that, and I think most people know that they're a sponsor of our show, but anytime we talk about them, we want to be transparent, of course, in that because that's just the right thing to do. But what I like about this, and I would adopt the same sort of mentality if I had some sort of online marketplace or auction house or something like that, where it's never sacrifice the long term for the short term.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is a move that does that, where maybe we'll sell a few less cards today, but we'll treat our customers better off over the long haul and avoid negative experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. The only other story for hobby news, I wanted to do a little mini social roundup, Troy. So we did a post the other day. I found some interesting data on GemRate, their website, and put together a post about the 10 hockey players with the most total graded cards all time. And thought it was worth talking about our show because I have some more context we can add to it as well. It's one of the more commented posts we've had in a long time. Did you end up seeing it?
I did. It was very interesting, very intriguing, thought-provoking.
Sultry, would you say?
Sultry.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
So here's how we're going to do this. I was more interested in the photos that you found.
There's one photo that's so amazing.
Oh, I know.
We'll get to in a second. Here's how we're going to do this. We're just going to go through the top 10 quickly. I have some other anecdotes or data points or fun facts, as we might like to call them.
Now we're going backwards, though, right? We're going 1 to 10, right?
Yeah, we're going 1 to 10.
Yeah, that's how we
do it. And then we're going to do some comparisons to other athletes in other sports and see what that looks like. So number 1 should not be a giant surprise to anyone. Wayne Gretzky. 235,523 at the time when I pulled the data.
Yes.
Cards graded by, and we looked at the 4 major grading companies: PSA, BGS, SGC, and CGC. We know there's other grading companies, but too many to list. And these are kind of, I think, considered the big 4. What I would say about this one, only note is that, and you'll see as we go on to number 2 here, Troy, Connor McDavid, there's 3 times more Gretzky cards graded than his nearest competitor, Connor McDavid. So, as always, Wayne Gretzky is the king, and nothing's even close to him. So that brings us to McDavid, Troy, at number 2. 85,036 total cards graded by all 4 grading companies. Now, the first thing that popped into my mind is, well, how many of these are his young guns of the 85,000? So I looked it up. 16,934 young guns, copies of his young guns have been graded, which is 20% of the total Connor McDavid cards graded.
I thought it'd be higher.
Really?
Yeah, but that's just me being dumb, maybe. Not a lot higher. I was thinking like 30 to 35%.
What makes you wonder too, like, you know how people have speculated there's like 75,000 McDavid young guns out there? It's seeing that a total of 16,934 have been graded. Does that make it, in your mind, more likely that there's 75,000 young guns or less likely? Do you get where I'm going with that?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I'd have to like take a guess on what percentage of people grade their cards. I think there's, I mean, I can live with that 75,000. I don't know. It just seems maybe that's reasonable.
I feel like a third of them would have been graded, so I think the 75,000 might be a little overestimated, but you never know. And there could be a whole bunch of sealed wax we don't know still that we don't know about too.
Now, I don't know the future numbers. Is this the closest? I always feel he had a lot at BGS. Do you know if this is the closest BGS to PSA number?
Yeah. So in the top 10, I think he has the most cards graded by Beckett, and that would be probably the majority of his young guns. So he has 32,000 of the 85,000 are BGS cards.
Okay.
And
I was just curious.
Yeah. Number 3, Sidney Crosby. A lot of BGS cards as well.
Yeah, he's pretty close too. Yeah.
For 26,000.
Yeah.
60,205 cards total. I didn't really find anything else interesting, but probably a lot of
just like just like Sidney Crosby himself. We couldn't find anything any more interesting.
Oh my God, Troy. Did somebody stick a quarter in you?
Shots fired!
If you smile as you say it and laugh, everyone's like, ah ha ha.
Well, there's one like important thing to note here too, is that so like with Crosby, right? There's 60,205 cards graded. It doesn't mean that it's 60,205 cards, right? So some of them might have been crossed over from BSA.
Yeah.
But there's no way to know that.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Super Mario. Mario Lemieux, 58,241 total cards graded. A lot more PSA.
Yep.
So only 11,800 of them are Beckett. I don't know what that means, but sounds like a lot of them have already been converted, or maybe people just started grading more modern or ultra modern Lemieux cards.
Well, in the 80s was PSA a bigger play? So that's where I don't know. I don't know the history of grading. I know at one point
Beckett was before PSA, weren't they?
I don't know. Someone have to tell me. That's way more familiar with grading.
All right, well, we're going to move on because here's where it gets interesting. Okay. Number 5.
Our boy.
Your boy, Connor Bedard. It's got like the 7th grade flow going on there.
Oh my gosh. I saw a meme. Sorry. I mean, someone did put a quarter into me. Every 7th grade, 8th grade kid has like their hair is like an asparagus top, whatever they call it, cauliflower. It just cracked me up. And this is exactly what it is. Bedard has it. Anyways, sorry.
A whopping 58,175 cards, total cards graded. The 5th most cards graded of any hockey player all time. We're going to pause. Let that sink in.
I remember, was I hit him high? I said, hey, people, you need to calm down on the Bedards. It's true.
Well, he's number 5. Now, I'm going to read the numbers slowly because I don't know if you notice this. 58,175. Now go back to number 4 real quick.
Okay.
Lemieux, 58,250. So, and again, this is like a day old data. I'm sure he's already passed Lemieux at this point in number 4.
Yeah, he'll pass. He's going to pass Crosby too. Crosby's 60.
Yeah, he'll pass Crosby, and probably by the end of the month, he'll be the number 3.
Crazy.
Now, you got to also remember too, though, it does go back a couple of years. Not that that makes a huge difference, but it includes like his CHL and Team Canada cards from last year. Remember, this is cards graded all time.
Yep.
But to already have almost 60,000 cards graded seems stunning to me. In a few minutes, I'll try. we are going to compare him to some other rookies in different sports, and we'll see if it still seems quite as shocking.
Yeah.
Here's something, though, that another little nugget that I thought is interesting about Bedard. 88% of his total graded cards are in PSA slabs.
Yeah.
So we talked a few minutes ago about McDavid, who only 57% of McDavid because he had that real high BGS number. So PSA is definitively the current king of slabification.
Yes.
And it's not even close.
Not even close.
Number 6, Jaromir Jagr, 54,621 total cards graded. 18,267 or 33% of his total graded cards are the 1990 OPG Premier Rookie. 33% of his all-time cards graded.
Printed to the moon.
No kidding. So he has more OPG Premier cards graded than Connor McDavid Young Guns.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Number 7, Alexander Ovechkin. 48,802 cards. Does it surprise you it's not higher on the list?
No. I mean, I feel like at the time, again, this gets back to my like Russian thing. Sometimes I think people don't like Russians and they don't kind of hold it against him.
Number 9, Steve Yzerman.
8.
Oh, no, number 8. Number 8. Bobby Orr. 40,701 cards graded, but only 1,465 or his 1966 Topps rookie. So yeah, that's incredible, right? Only 3.6% of all Bobby Orr cards ever graded are his rookie card.
Yeah.
Compare that to 33% for one of Jagr's and whatever percentage of McDavid's Young Gun, 20% for McDavid's Young Guns. I just think that's kind of crazy. Okay, now number 9 is Steve Yzerman, 38,518 cards graded. This could be one of the better caption this photos of all time.
Staring into my soul.
I don't know if it's I just pooped my pants look or I'm in a murder lineup. I don't know. Louis.
Yep.
That's what's going on with Steve Yzerman in this photo.
We went over this last night. He's having a moment.
Yeah. Looks like he could use a little. Okay. Thanks, Louis, for your
Family show.
And then lastly, Troy, number 10, Patrick Waugh, the only and lonely goalie in the top 10. 32,587 all-time cards sold. So if you had to guess one goalie being in the top 10, I would think he'd be the obvious choice.
Yes, because just the Montreal, being from Canada, French-Canadian.
Yeah.
I'm growing. I'm really appreciating that market after going to the Montreal card show, but then having Phil on and talking to Phil and even Sylvain, the more we go along, we know Canada's a huge market, but man, I just didn't realize it was like in Montreal and the Canadian players, like you're almost guaranteed to have a hobby following of some sort if you just play for the Canadians. You could be a fourth line guy and there'll be people collecting you like crazy.
It's part of the fabric, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now let's take us to the whole next level. So I found an infographic on the Germrate website as well that shows the top 50 athletes with the most cards graded. So not just hockey, of any sport. Gretzky is the only hockey player in the top 50. Again, like 235,000 cards graded. Their math is different, which is kind of weird. It says 237 here. It says 235 when you look it up. So
interesting.
Close enough, right?
Close enough.
So Gretzky is good for 30th on the list out of the top 50. I'm going to go through the top 5 real quick. Now, remember, Gretzky, like 237,000. Number 1 is Michael Jordan, 2.07 million cards graded. Number 2, Ken Griffey Jr., 992,000. Number 3, LeBron, 904,000. Number 4, Kobe, 835,000. And then number 5 is Shohei Ohtani, 651,000 cards graded. So there's 10 times, well, a little bit less than 10 times, 9 times more Michael Jordan cards graded than Wayne Gretzky. Sometimes the hobby feels a little small, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the hockey. Yeah, you got one hockey player on the list. And then you look at, well, how does Connor Bedard, where we were just kind of blown away, a lot of people where we shared the post were blown away, almost 60,000 cards graded, 58,000. Well, the basketball wonderkind, Victor Wembanyama, or Wemby as they call him, 280,000 cards graded so far, 4.5 times more than Connor Bedard.
So I know nothing about basketball, but I do know that it's absolutely bonkers that Zion Williamson is at number 9 because he was a COVID guy, right? That rookie card, and it's like the most graded.
Yeah, he was such a phenom coming out of Duke, and 500,000 cards graded.
And now I can't like stay healthy. I don't even know if he's played. I don't watch basketball, but I always hear stuff that he's making a comeback. He's making a comeback.
He's got to get to his playing weight. Well, you know the one that really got me.
Oh yeah,
checking in at 184,000 cards. Wander Franco. How do those look now, Troy?
So when you said that, I went on to Card Ladder just now, real quick, just to like scroll through the cards they have in the ladder. Boy, they're worthless. I mean, everything's under like $10, except for a couple. There's like a 101 Bowman prospect that still goes for a ton of money, or the 101s. Well, last sale, who knows? That was probably a while ago. But man, everything. I mean, it's just he's got no market. It's absolutely ruined, and it probably should be.
It feels kind of icky even owning it at this point, right?
I mean, I still have the most printed ever tops now, and I might just throw it away. Like when he got whatever 4 hits in a game or something. It's like I have no need for it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else stand out to you on this list before we move on?
No, it's really interesting to see it. It just kind of puts in perspective where hockey is compared to the rest of the sports or the 4 major sports. I don't see any soccer players on here, so at least we got one hockey player. No soccer though. I don't think there's any soccer guys. I'm looking real quick.
When you see guys though, like, and not that they're not great athletes in their sport, but guys like Ronald Acuna or
Luis Robert, that's
Luis Robert almost has more cards graded than Wayne Gretzky, like 2,000 less. Or you look at like another one that kind of stands out to me, not that this is a football card show, but know a little bit about the Peyton Manning market and how anemic it is. Like his cards aren't really worth much, it doesn't seem like, but yet there's 246,000 cards graded. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
We're gonna move on. Talk about off-season dip, a little bit of the hockey hobby market. Well, Troy, it's our 3rd summer now.
Okay.
For off-season doing the show. In summer 1, right, we had this what felt like a definitive off-season dip where it was actually right about now, and that's kind of why I wanted to look into this, where it's like the whole market was down 20 to 30%, and then the prevailing thought at that point is, oh, now's the buy time. And then as we get close to the start of the season, everything just goes back up. The reason why everything is down is because it's summer, nobody cares about hockey, everyone's at the beach or golfing or doing whatever. And then we'll get interested in hockey and excited about the season as we get more into the fall. So last summer, we had a lot of plans around the off-season dip, like a lot. And I was like working on content ideas. We were talking about different angles we wanted to take. And then what happened was there was no off-season dip. It was like Cole Caulfield rookies kept going up and like Trevor Zegras and all this stuff. And we were kind of scratching our heads going, well, this is weird. What's happening? And so coming in now to year 3, Troy did no planning because
after that opening, you could tell we did no planning.
Who's surprised by that?
Sorry, I'm trying to turn the air conditioner on in my house. I'm really hot. It's getting hot in here.
Troy's in the sauna. Troy records in a sauna.
Sauna.
So yeah, didn't have much of a plan, but still am intrigued by this whole idea of the off-season dip. And then we don't do like tons of market update stuff anymore. So that was probably we're due, maybe time to do that. And I'm going to let a little bit of the cat out of the bag. Every time I do this, I get excited about it on the front end. I'm pulling my hair out while I'm doing it and completely confused at the end. So, but I don't know, maybe this will make sense to you, or maybe you can make sense of, because I just try to pull up a whole bunch of data. And where I really struggle with this is I feel like you have to have a what's the term I'm looking for? You have to have like an approach to doing this. You can't just look up like 3 cards and say, like, you have to have a methodology, right?
Yeah.
In order to try to evaluate where the market is at. And that tends to be pretty difficult at times. But again, though, if we are in a dip, it would be good to know whether you're a PC guy or you want to make some summer flips or buys that you can flip as the season starts, right? That would be good. So what I decided to do is first, I thought, well, okay, what are the levers or variables that really move the market? And I kind of came up with 2 different categories. The first is sort of the macro environment. Probably what we don't talk about enough because it's hard to maybe understand or correlate enough into the hockey hobby. So that's stuff like the economy, inflation. I don't know if you're aware of this, Troy, but we have an election here in the U.S. Not sure if you heard about that. Or
Well, I've kind of heard about it. We had one candidate almost get assassinated, and the other candidate had to drop
too
out.
old. It's too old, right?
Yeah.
Well, that creates uncertainty, and all that kind of leads into the overall consumer confidence sentiment, right? Which is, and these are little cardboard pictures of sweaty men that have no sort of foundational value attached to them. So it's really all perceptive value and sentiment and perception and confidence that people have, right? That drives the market. But so you have to factor all that in somehow. And then you have to weigh in to that too. Now more like the micro environment or the hobby environment, where there's just as many, if not more, variables, right? We have new products that are still being released. We had a new product come out today in Allure, and that takes focus and money away from existing cards. You have stuff like pop counts, right, that are rising on graded cards, so that will shift the market. You have overall sentiment or confidence in the sports card market, whatever that means. And I guess as an example, right, we're now a few years removed from the pandemic sports cards boom. I don't know. I brought this up before, but I wondered at times when was the whole Chris Moneymaker poker thing?
2005.
That'd have been like 2005, 2006. And if you're older like us, like that was when we were just kind of getting out of college into jobs, making a little bit of money. And
2003.
Okay, 2003. For a few solid years, every weekend we were playing poker somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like everyone was so
online.
swept up online, or there's always a poker game. And it kind of created a phenomenon around poker. And then eventually it kind of died out, where it's like, oh yeah, I don't really love poker. Maybe I'm not real good at it. And people stopped watching the World Series of Poker. There was no kind of guy to follow, like the whole Chris Moneymaker thing.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring it up is I've been wondering for a while if the pandemic and sports cards is going to be a similar thing, where we had this unique circumstance. We're all sort of captive in our houses. You had the Last Dance documentary come out. You have governments giving people money, and it sort of created this environment where these sports cards took off. And then a lot of people that maybe necessarily wouldn't have been so interested get into the hobby, and because everything is going up left and right, it seems easy. It seems fun. And then now over the last year, the market has definitely stabilized or retracted even a little bit. And it's just not, it's a little harder now. You have to work harder in order and dig deeper. And not as many people are going to want to do that. So do you think that there could be kind of a slide off like we saw with the whole poker movement? I guess
for sure there'll be the market's going to, it's retracted a little bit, but it's still at a higher point than it was before. I actually think tomorrow will be a very good indicator of what's going on at the National. If the VIP line is anything that we saw, did you see those pictures?
No.
VIP line was literally probably thousands of people, and it was lined up outside like VIP to get in. Then you had to go in, and then I'm curious what the National looks like from a attendance perspective. If it's an all-time high, does that tells us something? You know, it's not the end all be all, but it definitely tells us something.
It does. Yeah. Well, and that's been the mantra almost going back a year now, where it feels like interest is high, prices aren't great.
Yeah. That's why I say volume is up. Probably volume, like number of cards being sold, bought,
Yeah.
traded, collected is up. Values are down.
So we have the macro environment or variables, the micro variables, but we still want to figure out if we're an off-season dip. So we got to start looking up some cards. And I thought, well, what's the best way to do this? And I came up, well, there's no foolproof method, of course. So the best I could come up with is buckets, right? How do we look at what are the buckets of the hobby that we could maybe compare and try to get an indication whether it's going up? And I came up with 4 legends, right? So that'd be like your vintage kind of cards. I got blue chippers. So these are your McDavids and Ovechkins and Crosbys. Then I have more like your stars. So your Jack Hughes, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon. And then a few up and comers, the Caulfields, Byfields, and White Johnston. I didn't want to look at any 2023 rookies because
like Matthew Nyes.
Well, it's so volatile prospecting anyways. But then you also have to look at the pull pop count thing, right?
Yeah.
You can't judge what's happening with the Bedard PSA 10 Young Guns as an indicator of the market. The pop goes up 150 to 200 cards every single week.
Yeah.
And it's simple supply and demand. As supply goes up, demand goes down. Prices, you really have to have like crazy demand surges to outpace supply at this point for that card. So I just don't buy. I think it's more an indicator of rapidly increasing supply. Like that's not the hockey market as a whole. Okay. So that's the way I did it. We're going to roll through these quickly, and then you're going to tell me what you think this all means. So let's look at our legends pool.
Right.
Wayne Gretzky is the most like legendary legend that ever legend.
Yes.
Right. So
Agreed.
looked at his 1979 OPG rookie. Have you seen this card before, Troy? I think it's popular.
See, this one is a very good copy of the Rough Cup, which was not wires, just dull blades.
Oh, dull blades. Oh, good.
Lazy,
good.
laziness.
You learned something on the show.
I have. That's one thing I've taken away. That, and I know Connor Bedard Young Guns is number 451. Where everyone knows the Gretzky, I've like the Bedard is the one that's like seared into my brain.
Oh, so cute.
That's a new one.
Now, again, we're trying to, is the market dipping? Is what's happening? Is PSA 5 up 22% in the past month, up 40% in the past 3 months? PSA 6 up 2% in the past month, down 29% in the past 3 months. So trending up. PSA 7 down 1% in the past month and down 9% in the past 3 months. Okay, one data point.
Okay.
Still in the Legends category. Looking now at Super Mario, his 1985 OPG rookie card. PSA 8 up 12% in the past month, up 24% in the past 3 months. PSA 9 up 1% in the past month, down 14% in the past 3 months. So again, shorter term stuff. And oh, by the way, the last month is basically when the season ended.
Yeah. Okay.
Now the captain, Troy, Steve Yzerman. Got to look at him for real quick.
Yes. Let's go back. First of all, no, I got to go back. Look at this slab for Lemieux. Boy, this was like a typewriter printed this
dot
one
matrix, PSA dot matrix slab.
And also, I saw something. I should write this stuff down when I see it. I don't know if it was a PSA thing. They're talking about their slab, the iconic PSA red border, and I almost barfed. It's the ugliest slab.
All right, well, tell us how you feel. Okay. The captain, Steve Yzerman, is a 1984 OPG rookie.
There he is.
The PSA 8 down 3% in the past month, down 21% in the past 3 months. PSA 9 up 2% or 22% in the past month, yet up 6% over the past 3 months. So what I like about the 1 month and 3 month comparison for only these 4 vintage cards, but we don't have enough time to go through like 600 examples, is the values have gotten better in the last 3 months. Like they're stronger in the last month than they are in the last 3 months. Like the trend is. So for vintagey, legendary kind of guys, I doesn't seem like we're an off-season dip. I don't know. What do you think?
These vintage guys are they're going to be pretty rock steady unless the whole economy tanks something ferocious. Yeah. Even though these are probably good hedges against a huge decline.
I didn't pick any PSA 10s, right? Because I didn't
Yeah.
want, because that can be a little more volatile too. So I tried to pick like the 8s and 9s where there's lots of sales and lots of copies. But yeah, I don't know. Okay. Now we'll go to the blue chippers. So these are the McDavid current players. McDavid, you know, have your coupless Connie bashing. Troy hurt the McDavid market. We'll see his Young Guns PSA 10.
I can already guess this has to be down.
Yeah, down 33% in the past month and 17% in the past 3 months. So would you like to do your apology now, Troy, or wait for another show when we have more time?
It did a little bump up there where it got to like 30. Was it 3,500? Is that US?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a sale? And that doesn't seem sustainable because that card literally 2,800 to 3,200, and it sits right between there with some variants on the outliers.
I think it's down around 2,000 right now.
Is that that's what is that 2,000?
2,100, something like
wow.
that. I don't know.
Take my 2,800 back.
We'd have to look that up or something like that. I think the low 2s it's back down to, and
okay,
it's probably a little bit of the hangover from again the losing the Stanley Cup.
Oh no, you're right. It is 2,100 right now.
So if you've wanted this card and you weren't looking as like I just want a McDavid Young Guns PSA 10.
Yeah,
I'd like to not spend 4,000 on it. Seeing at 2,100, is it like might be a good buy time?
Yes. If I wanted it for my PC,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen. Has it been better than that in the last 2 years? Doesn't look like it.
Well, one of the things too that we probably should mention more, and what's nice about what Card Ladder provides is look at the 52-week high and the 52-week low.
Here, where should I bring this in? So here's our fun chart. I'm sorry I didn't. Oh my gosh, this is a disaster. Here it is.
You just got to exit out. So what's the 12-month high?
So if we did 1 year,
it tells you in the left data column. It'll tell you the 12-month high and the 12-month low.
Where?
I can't read. I can't see it. It's go up.
The sales, like here, where it says sales.
No, it's in the little.
Like this part where I'm wiggling my mouse.
Yeah, high price and low price.
Oh, there it is. 3,720 was the high.
And 2080, it's the low. So it's near the 1 year low. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's another good indicator if you're thinking, well, is this a good buying opportunity? Or is that a guarantee that it goes down or up? No. But I'd rather buy something when it's at its 12-month low for my PC than when it's at its 12-month. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at Crosby. Young Guns PSA 10, up 6% in the past month, up 18% in the past 3 months. So a big contrast from Connor McDavid. Ovi Young Guns PSA 10, down 12% in the past month, down 14%.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
I wish his pant size was down 12% in the past month. But
well, I'm curious. Like, so he basically ends the season. Now there's all these questions. I'm curious how if it keeps dropping a little bit and what goes on.
Optics hasn't been great, but then everyone comes back. He scored like a one-time
KHL game, right?
Game. Yeah, yeah. Well, sorry, when Vladimir Putin is the MVP of every KHL All-Star game, I'm not gonna buy into the Ovi's fine argument from some KHL All-Star game. Austin Matthews, Young Guns PSA 10, up 12% in the past month, and still down 16% in the past 3 months. So the 1 month trend for half of the blue chippers is up and half are down. Crosby and Matthews up, and McDavid and Ovi down. Looking at the stars real quick. So this would be Jack Hughes, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and our boy Bill Kirill. So Jack Hughes, 2019 Young Guns PSA 10, up 12% in the past month, up 1% in the past 3 months. Cale Makar, Young Guns PSA 10, down 16% in the past month and 23% in the past 3 months. Now, this is like where you try to make sense of what the market's doing, and either I'm just not smart enough or I get all sorts of confused because there's no rationale why Jack Hughes should be up at this point and Cale Makar would be down. Cale Makar had a really good season.
90 points.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't like those other Makar cards you were posting.
And then Ouch.
Shots fired.
Here we go. For you.
Shots fired.
Okay. Then you got Nathan McKinnon. I think there's a little bit of an explanation for this. His 2013 Young Guns PSA 10 down 45% in the past month and down 26% in the past 3 months. Either all the Avs fans are bailing on their team, or there's a couple huge sales when it was announced he won the Hart Trophy, and then everyone calmed down very quickly after that, which is what I think would happen there.
Yeah, more reasonable. I mean, Hart 40 points, though.
Lastly, Troy, our boy Dollar Bill Kirill had to throw this one in here. He's a 2020 Young Guns PSA 10. You ready?
I'm ready.
Brace yourself here.
Hurt me.
Take a deep breath. Down 17% in the past month, down 23% in the past 3 months.
100.
Sells for about $100.
Oh, that's sad.
What did you pay for yours?
The opposite of the Road to Infinity is the Kirill Kaprizov Road to Zero.
Road to Zero for the Young Guns value. Troy in the top, 2% we figured all time?
Yeah, top 2% of all buyers of the Kirill.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Still my case.
Yeah.
Still on display.
So I don't know. This sample set is a little bit more down than the other two we've looked at. Could just be the players we looked at, but I don't know. If you're an Avs fan, might be a decent time to look at some Makar or McKinnon cards there. Finally, the last group before we try to make sense of all this. The up-and-comers, toughest ones because the pop count thing, and the volatility of prospecting. I picked 3. Caulfield, Young Guns PSA 10, down 30% in the past month, down 5% in the past 3 months. Quentin Byfield, who just got a big contract extension, down 1% in the past month, yet down 8% in the past 3 months. And then Wyatt Johnston, who was kind of the end of the season rising star in the NHL and in the hobby, really. His Young Guns PSA 10 down about 5% in the past month, yet still up 13% in the past 3 months. So I have a couple kind of takeaways. And then
Good, I just go, no. This is craziness.
Well, I think the big one you already mentioned is that the more you trend to, if you go from legends to blue chippers to stars to prospects, it gets more volatile.
They're like the mutual funds, like the aggressive index funds at the top, most risky, and then or not index funds, but what am I looking for? Like the invest in the startups, and then your government bonds are like the Gretzky's.
It's like investing in Amazon versus like weird tech startups in Romania, right? Which is sort of the prospecting way to look at it. I think though, and I not just by the cards we looked at, I did some examples, but we look at a lot of sales data. And if you force me to describe, you're not doing that, are you? You're forcing me, but are you? You're on mute.
Oh, here. That's me, like. I don't know. Is that my whip? I guess that's my whip sound effect.
That's scaring me, though.
Hold on. It's a family show. Jeez, where are we going?
Okay, if you force me to describe the market, I think it's a market of pockets. I think there's opportunity in some areas, but it's not across the board type thing. And like we said, we see more stability in values with legends and most established hobby stars, which makes sense. I think you also have to wrap into this our sort of concept of the junk variety era.
Yes.
Where there's just so many cards in the marketplace that are kind of junk.
Junk slab era even, right? It's a kind of they're not is that interchangeable? Junk variety, junk slab?
Maybe? I don't know what to think on that. But the point is you have to be really selective and choose the right cards, right cards that have long-term desirability. And there's just going to be a lot of junk that will have little to no value down the road. Again, going along the lines of the whole pockets concept, 90s cards and players seem to be really strong right now.
Yes.
You can find record sales every day there. Prospects who are risky to begin with. And now with doubling and tripling the amount of rookie cards, the rush to grading where everything is getting graded immediately, I think is making that whole landscape pretty tough. I don't know how you are a prospector at this point.
Like Sylvain, right? Like just listening to how he walks through things and decides to grade and stuff.
So I think the whole pockets concept means that there there are good buys and there are value buys, but you have to find them. There's just not a general rule of thumb. And the one thing I would say though about the end of July, early August in the hockey hobby is off-season dip or not. I'm probably not going to pay a premium. I'm not going to set a record.
Yeah.
Unless it's a very, very special card that
Like
never.
a highlighter?
Yes, like a thank you for can we pause while I go dunk my head in the toilet?
Well, if we bring up the Corel, we got to bring up the highlighter, even though mine's way more on the
fair play.
The dollar amount.
I'm just not paying premiums for common cards at this point. But there could also be some good buying opportunities like the Makar, right? So his Young Gun PSA 10 currently selling about 373 US. So the 12-month high, Troy, is 630 US. 12-month low, 349. Okay. So he's really close to that 12-month low. And again, if that's a card you want, or you really convince yourself that it's going to go up before the end of the year, at least it tells you it's a good time to buy. Again, that good time to buy does not guarantee that it's the low point. It just means based on where this card is traded at over the last 12 months, this is at the kind of more towards the low end of where the prices are in. So yeah, pockets and players. That's my view on the market. And you just can't, at this point, I don't see a way to paint with a broad brush stroke. Yeah. What do you think?
Agree 100%. You can make more sense of it than I can. I just kind of look at this stuff and it's like at some of the guys I can predict, like Ovi, I could tell you that was going to be down. There'll be a dip there, but then some of these guys, I don't understand what's going on with their market.
So why are you so confident on Ovi? Like what?
Because I knew that the run, I felt a lot of stuff was built in for him to hit the goals record, and now I think there's questions where it was like 80%. Yeah, now it's 40% that he's going to hit it or something. I feel like you get enough chatter out there you can see on social media and stuff, and pundits, the professional guys, you can see stuff out there that I felt pretty confident his was going to be down.
Do you think that the whole Bedard thing over the last 6 months has overall helped or hurt the market?
I think it's helped by bringing people in and bringing attention. However, it is absolutely bonkers on his values and what's going on for what he's accomplished.
All right, Louis, what do you think about Bedard? Has it helped or hurt the hockey?
It's like a record scratch bringing Louis in now.
Jeez, hello.
Good timing.
I think everybody's kind of sick of the whole Bedard thing right now, to be honest with you.
Who?
Yeah, him.
Yeah,
we're still on the hunt for a Bedard collector. We're still waiting to find that guy that's actually PC and Bedard.
I think my new sport, because you got to entertain yourself while you're doing these shows, is I just want to find you at the most, just like dive bomb you onto screen when you're like drinking or eating something.
Well, it says when you're in backstage, be ready at all times. There's a little note that says.
Oh yeah.
What do you think overall about the hockey market? Do you think the hockey market is strong right now, a mixed bag, or weak? How would you describe it?
I'm finding a lot of stuff that's affordable to buy right now, so it must be weak. It must be down. There's a lot of things that I'd like to jump on, because of the prices. Why? I don't know. You can keep throwing all these numbers you just threw at everybody here. Again, I still probably wouldn't get it or follow it, but when I go online and look, I see that the prices are down on things. I'd start grabbing stuff. I mean, I'm trying to put it that way, Well,
it's a good time to be a collector, right? Because now things are more accessible. And that's one of the things through the pandemic that made it tough, is that a lot of cool cards were out of reach of most people. And so, yeah. I don't know, Troy, what do you think? Strong, weak, or mixed bag? How would you
describe
that?
Strong, pricing down, economy. Who knows what our economy is doing? The election will tell us a lot. But I do think the volume is up. I think card shows are busy, and I do think pricing is down overall from pandemic highs, which isn't a great prediction because that's pretty obvious. So I am curious what it happens at the beginning of next season. I'm curious if Bedard, just have him go on a hot streak for the first week and watch the market jump again for hockey. Everyone go nuts.
There seems to be a lot. Sorry, Josh. There seems to be a lot. Like Troy just said, the volume of cards out there right now seems to be so high that everything's available. There's nothing that, if you want it, you can find it.
Yeah. And a lot of those like things that you're looking for clues to a bad market, like going to card shows and nobody's there, or I haven't heard of many people that are like dealers that aren't being able to sell cards. It's just, I think the prices are a little tough. Now, another point to add to this, and I'm going way out of my depth here, but I don't purposely put a lot of attention on the economy because it kind of freaks me out. But I thought, well, if for the sake of this conversation, I wouldn't try to look up mainly the U.S. economy, which I think is relevant, right? Because it drives a lot of the global economy too. And it seems like, I don't know if what perspective, maybe it changes the perspective you're looking at, but things are okay. Like inflation's trending down a little bit and jobs seem to be okay. And again, not that everything's great, but who knows? Maybe we get through the election and we get into a better economy and that could impact things too.
Yeah.
So,
and plus it depends on who wins the election. The market will always react and who knows.
mm-hmm.
Should we get into a fiscal versus monetary policy discussion? You want to go there?
I'm going to vote no.
We're going to go Louis? Money supply, the M1 supply, the M2 supply, and the M3 supply. Now I'm having flashbacks too.
Hey, Troy, do you hear that? That's everyone unsubscribing.
Yeah.
Right now.
Click.
Yeah. All right. Well, good discussion. Like I said, the best that I can provide is it's a market of pockets, and you just got to look and you got to learn and analyze and find those pockets, but there is opportunity. So I guess that's the best we got. Bye, Louis. Okay, Troy, moving on to new product releases.
Bam.
Finally had a new product today. Yeah. 2023-24 Allure. It's been a minute since there's been a hockey release. I think Upper Deck took a little bit of a summer break too. Mm-hmm. Oh, pretty awesome. Actually having a new release today. It was a little stressful though here. You don't know any of this because I
know what happened. Was there a line out the at the shop or what?
I called like 3 shops and none of them had it.
Oh, they didn't get it in?
Even our kind of go-to LCS, they're like, no, it's not here and the delivery hasn't come yet. That whole thing frustrates me. I don't understand how you can't, if you're going to say the product gets released on July 24th, oh, you don't have 3 days before every card shop in America or certified diamond dealer or whatever it is, whether this is distributors or what's happened at Upper Deck, I don't know. But the fact that on release day it's 2 p.m. and they don't have the product on their shelves, I would be angry if I was a card shop owner.
It's bonkers. This is a whole nother discussion on how card shops get screwed on this stuff. My guess is that probably they are so, I don't know why, but they're probably so afraid that these people are going to break street dates. Happens in everything. Believe me, back in the days when CDs, you find them early, video games, breaking street dates. I'm sure that's why they wait until the last minute to send these out, but it's so ridiculous. It's such a paranoid hobby for some reason. And it makes no sense. I feel for these card shops that have to sit there and just wait for a product that they make money on. They get forced to buy it. Like, let's be honest. It's not like they can't just say, now we're going to skip that release. Nope. Can't do that. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, as of 8:00 this morning, I was on Whatnot watching case after case of this product.
They get them. Yeah.
And not a card shop in the Twin Cities has the product at 2:00 on release day. And
we gotta get a distributor on here somehow, some way. Maybe they won't because we'll be all angry with them.
But if the mantra is we care so much about the certified diamond dealers and we don't cater to breakers, you got to explain that to me then, because that, like I said, if we owned a card shop today and I'm watching this product being broke left and right online and we have customers that are coming in to get it, and we have to say we don't have it yet, I'm beyond mad at this point. I just don't.
Well, and the
get it.
comeback will be, oh, but somehow the Breakers got it. Whatever. I don't know. They back channeled it, right? That's the word we hear all the time. Back channeled it. It's like,
Just make sure every hobby shop has it 3 days before.
like if you're, and again, I don't know who this comes down to, if it's Upper Deck or distributors. I would love for someone to put out, I just want someone to put out and explain to me how the whole distribution system works. Because right now, from taking in bits and chunks and pieces and all that stuff, it's a disaster. It seems like it's the most ridiculous. It's almost like like the mafia running the garbage.
The mafia. I was just going to say mafia.
The mafia running the garbage. Whatever. And like,
wait a minute. Is it the mafia? I love distributors. I think distributors are great.
There you go.
Distributors are fantastic.
Maybe that's a little extreme, but hey, it just, no one can give me a good explanation. It just seems so crazy.
Well, finally this afternoon I found it and I drove and I got it. So
can I ask where you got it?
Got Absolute.
Oh, so our
kind of our go-to. Absolute and Savage. Shout out to those guys. They're great people.
Yep.
Got a box for me. Got a box for you. You haven't seen yours yet, but you will soon. So I did open the product. I have some thoughts on it. But if you haven't seen our 2023-24 Allure checklist overview, we did it a few shows ago. That's episode 204. You can definitely check that out there. So here's my overall thoughts.
Okay.
Don't love the price, but we're going to get back to that.
Okay.
The cards, though, fantastic. I was really worried, actually, that Upper Deck would be able to top last year, because I thought Allure was fantastic. I thought the base cards were like the most nicest, coolest, shiniest, sort of silver prismy base cards ever. And they're just as good, if not better, this year. I'm really blown away by the quality of the cards. Some of the cards, Troy, I'm going to go out and say are too nice. Like, I'm going through a pack, I open, and I hit a card. I'm like, what is this? This is so cool. Holy crap. And then another big plus for Allure, which I know you're a huge fan of, turn the card over on the back, and I see Red Rainbow.
Yes, Allure is spot on with listing what the card is. Love it.
And then it like registers with me that, well, Red Rainbow is like the most common parallel.
Yep.
I'm like, this is like super nice. Like, this is an awesome card.
I had a question. So are you saying, so where do we call Allure? Is that a low mid-end product? Mid-low product? Low end? So some of those cards you're thinking are more in the mid-tier, like for how nice they look?
I don't know. I'm just basing it on if I knew nothing different and I wasn't biased by limited logos are so great and stuff like that. Yeah. I would say, holy crap, this card is amazing. I like to look at it.
Well, it's such a step up from when we first got into Allure a little bit. It was what was
2019 and 2020 wasn't
2019-20, but I mean I was scooping up Ottinger autos, there's all that stuff. But you look back now and these new cards, the new design the last couple of years just blows away that design.
Well, I'm wondering, and you reference this way more than I do, about the whole Karn Rye thing, about he was a little bit a fortune teller and thought that maybe Allure someday will be the next platinum.
Yeah.
I'm starting to buy into that a little bit because these cards are flipping nice.
Yeah.
The base cards are amazing. Like I said, the Red Rainbow, I'm like, it's too nice. It's like they wasted such a cool card on a too common parallel.
Plus it's not a one card or one pack box. You get 8, right? 64 total cards.
Yeah, it's like 4 base 3 the chase, or 4 base 4 chase, something like that. It's about half and half. Base cards look awesome. They're really, really nice. And then there's there's the Stanley Cup card, which I know we've talked about, that looks pretty cool. The doubloons, the Gordie Howe doubloons. Show that one.
Oh yeah, you sent me that one.
Holy moly, Gordie Howe and the Whalers. I love my Whalers.
I love man. I don't know. I love the gold and green kind of play, but it's a great jersey, classic. Love the whale. However, I think Detroit. I want to see this in a Detroit. Maybe that's next year.
Well, the funny thing about
or is he already in
Gordie Howe and the Whalers is he's of course like 147 years old.
Very old.
Yeah. Just an amazing card. Really, really want that. So, oh, you get lots of Bedard. So I was watching case breaks. Like every box ish, maybe 1.5 Bedards per, or 1.5 boxes per Bedard. Lots and lots of Bedard. So
Just any autos, like Bedard autos or anything?
not an I saw. I did see a great selection of Bedard hockey mouth though, Troy.
Oh, I got yes.
Yeah, Bedard hockey mouth. This is from Bobby in Discord if you're watching on YouTube.
And this is only YouTubers can see this. Sorry, audio.
Only YouTubers can see this, but it's a little meme of Bedard's hockey mount that honestly made my day. So thank you, Bobby, for bringing joy to my heart. And go follow him, 86 Collectibles on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's pretty flipping awesome. I really want the Gordie Howe doubloons though. So if anyone pulled that card, sell it to me or reach out. Because
is it out? Is it for sale yet?
I'm sure there's something. It's gonna be way overpriced because it's release day on eBay. Yeah. Oh, here's the other thing. And this is the first time that I think ever this happened to me in the hobby. So as I'm driving home and thinking about my box that I'm going to open, I decide I don't want an auto. Because in every box, you either get an auto doubloon, which I think are amazing, or a 16-bit. And now, sure, if there was a Bedard auto that I could just turn around and sell for a few $100s, okay, I'll take that. I'm not getting crazy here, but there's sticker autos, and as we know, 95% of the autos are guys like you've never really heard of. I would much rather, if I'm opening a box of Allure, pull a doubloon or a 16-bit. Is that controversial? Does that make me weird?
No, not controversial. 1 bit.
I was like, please no auto. First I got an auto, right? But I've never had that thought opening a box.
Well, you can't say because it's for pack opening.
Yeah, I've got to do a pack opening. So yeah, it's I can't wait for you to hear your feedback, Troy. Hear other people's reactions too. Upper Deck did a fantastic job building this set. They really, really did. And so you gotta give them credit as much, when they do stuff that's good. And then, if you're gonna be critical, which I'll switch to now. I want to go back to price. I just think $150 is really tough on this. We're now, I think, past or passing or whatever's close to, however you want to put it, the hit a Bedard and cash in phase, right? Where there's so many Bedard cards now that we're starting to see some $5 Bedard rookies.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here thinking that we spend the money because of our show and we have to see this stuff. I don't know if I would have bought this today. What do you have to hit in this set to make it to break even on a box? I don't know. It has to be an out of 10, maybe Cooley or Fantilli.
I was gonna say it ain't a Kent Johnson doubloons. That's sold for $25. I'm looking at Terra Peak right now.
That's a big hit, right?
That was the one doubloon sale I could find for the Allure release. So,
and which is kind of maybe going back to where's Allure's stature in the or standing in the hobby. The only way to look at this is as from a collector's mindset. You just want to open for fun and you want to collect the cards. I don't see how it's even possible to make money flipping this product.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy a case and pray that you get a card that pays for your case, because I think the odds of hitting a card in a box to even break even are really, really, really low. Right, you pull a Cooley or Fantilli autograph, and what are you going to get? Maybe $80 for it. That's half of your.
Yep.
You're not making another $80 in cards in that box. There's no way. So this is, I think, where now we're getting to this weird stage. If Bedard, because of the quantity of cards in the marketplace and the price trends going down, where you're going to have all these new releases where It's like, do you want to buy a $100, $150, $200 box, Troy, and knowing that you're almost have no chance of even getting that the amount of value out of the box?
Here's how you make
Like-
your money back. Allure Stanley Cup, full rainbow color flow, Wayne Gretzky auto. There's how you make your money back, baby.
Sure, was that the product hit basically? For
Probably
$1,200.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's not numbered, but that's for auction or for who knows how much it'll actually go for. But let's just assume. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? Having a sticker Gretzky and a cup, like not a picture of him, but I'm assuming that would be one of the bigger cards in this product.
I'm sure, right?
Well, here's like, we're just gonna watch eBay now. Here's the Logan Cooley doubloons.
That'll never go for $500.
No, no. So
That's
thank
insane.
you, thank you, Louis, for sending that.
Yeah, I don't know if this is $100, Troy. I think it's much more palatable, and
No.
honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to be this guy, but the odds are, because we see this with Allure as one of these products where you can get 2022 now for $70 or less, right? And so I don't, some of these Bedard releases get a little weird with retailers and distributors wanting to hang on to dear life to higher prices, but I don't think as much as I loved opening this box, and it's awesome, I just don't know if I could spend another $150 on one.
Agreed.
It's just sort of like the OPG paper thing.
Yeah, you're right. 75 is Steel City for 22-23 Allure US dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one that hopefully, and we'll see though, because it's a Bedard release. But I'm hoping this one at the expo maybe comes down a little bit.
Well, that could vary. By the expo, maybe you'll have like some bigger platinum or SPA out, and it's like, are people still going to want to spend that much money on Allure? But very fun box. The Upper Deck did an amazing job on the cards. I just don't, and it's more of a Bedard 2023-24 theme. I just don't love the price.
Yeah.
Last really quick reminder that the next hockey release scheduled is 2023-24 SPX on August 7th. Okay. Time for our Fanatics Weekly Hockey Preview. Remember, Fanatics is a Gong Show partner and sponsor. We're grateful for their support. If you're at the National, check out Fanatics at booth 5000B. And if you submit any cards for the weekly auction valued at over $200 or more, Fanatics is doing a special promotion. You'll get 110% of the hammer price for your payout. So if the card sells for $200, you get $220.
Oh, so it's based off. Yeah, duh. I was saying to myself, how do they know what the price? Like, who's going to decide? I'm like, duh. They do an auction. So if it ends over 200,
then they add the buyer's premium to that.
Yeah.
So you basically get half of the buyer's premium.
that's cool.
Not a bad deal.
Nope.
Remember too that Fanatics has revitalized their buy now marketplace, changed the fee structure, and lowered the fees to 6% for any card that sells for less than 120 US. So a lot of cards have been moving there. A lot of cards being added. So definitely you want to go check that out. So a lot going on at the all new Fanatics Collect. Lots more changes in store coming soon too as well. One thing that hasn't changed, though, Troy, is the weekly auction. As we always do, we picked out our favorite vintage and modern cards to feature in this week's auction. We're going to start with our favorite vintage cards that you can bid on right now at fanaticscollect.com. So this one is actually pretty unique, the one that I started with.
You went all out. You went for the top dog.
I went for top dog, Troy. 1980 OPG hockey. Wayne Gretzky All-Star number 87 PSA 10 gem mint. Very low PSA 10 pop on this card.
Yes.
Only 11 PSA 10s, making it obviously pretty rare. One of 5 Gretzky cards in the 1980-81 OPG set. So there's this All-Star number 87 we're looking at on YouTube. Base card 250, or record breaker card number 3. Team leaders 182. Assist leader, I think there's 6 actually. 6 total. With Marcel Dion and Guy Lafleur. Scoring leaders with Dion and Lafleur. 6. Crazy. I just love the photo of Gretzky in this card.
Chewing on his
There's
glove.
another caption me. He's got like, it's either, I think, like, did I leave the oven on before I left the house? Sort of going on, or oops, did I do that kind of thing? I don't know. Looks like he's guilty of something. I already mentioned PSA 10 pop count is only 11. 1,404 copies graded to PSA, but to date, That's a gem rate of 0.8%. So very, very tiny. Looking at the Topps version. Now, remember in Topps, you had the scratch off under the puck. Which are you scratch or no scratch guy?
What do I reveal?
His name. So the puck was on all the Topps versions in 1980.
I don't think I would scratch it because I know who it is. Like,
but do you like the scratch version that the Topps was, or do you like the OPG that just had the?
No, I want I like the OPG.
Okay.
Scratch seems gimmicky, especially if it's just a name. That's weird.
Yeah. So the pop count for the Topps is actually lower. It's only 6 PSA 10s out of 1,792 copies graded, 0.3% gem rate. Not much to say about Gretzky. I think we've heard of him. We know he was good, right? Last sale of this card of the OPG PSA 10 was last April in the Fanatics Weekly Auction. Sold for an even $12,000 US, which was also the all-time high. You can only find 18 sales all-time in card letter sales history for 1980 OPG Gretzky All-Star PSA 10, which is not a huge shock given how low the pop is. Topps version, much less valuable. Last selling from the Fanatics vault in 2020 for I think a couple thousand, something like that. So there's like a huge multiplier. But you got a current bid?
13,500 US.
Somebody's going big, so that's already an all-time record sale. And even if another bid doesn't come in, you got to add 20% to that for the buyer's premium. So what does that make it? Like 16 grand, something like that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's almost
All right, you got the next one.
I do. Of course, I pick a guy. I know I'm going to botch his name. So here we go. Oops, zoomed in a little. So Josh, I went 1957 Topps Hockey. So it's spelled R-E-A-L, real or real.
Is it real?
It might be real, and then I can't say it. I tried to watch videos. I tried to figure it out. I didn't. Chevrevils. It's like Chevrefils.
Looks like real Chevy refills to me, but
it does. It looks like real Chevy refills. And being dumb Americans, that's we think Chevy trucks. But anyways, so that's the card. PSA 6. Picked this card solely on the name. Love the name, even though I can't say it. And it's a player I never heard of. So I like doing these because they really interest me. Plus the set, I didn't know that much about 57 Topps. I'm not even sure if we've looked at a lot of 57 Topps. I'm sure we have, but give a little quick primer on 57 Topps from our favorite book, Vintage Hockey Collector by Bobby Rell. Here we go. After a 2-year hiatus, Topps came back with a set of 66 cards, which measures 2.5 by 3.5 inches. Although a simple set, it is very colorful and collectible one due to the presence of some solid rookie cards. There is only one wrapper variation as Topps abandoned the penny packs, and the set includes all 4 American-based teams from the period. Key rookies, Glenn Hall, Johnny Busick, Norm Ullman, and Pierre Palat. Palat.
Oh, you did great. Holy cow.
Well, I got Busick right because now I don't know if Special One card still listens to us, but I remember the first time we botched his name. Special was on.
Yeah, man. In a good way.
No, he wasn't mad. He was just like, hey, guys, I just want to let you know it's Busick. I was like, yep, that makes sense.
What are we calling Johnny Bicycle or something like
that? Probably. Okay. Card is graded a PSA 6. Overall, this card looks really, really nice. Definitely pops for the color. Part of that is probably the scan, but man, that red comes through and the yellow looks really nice. It's definitely off center, left to right, and top to bottom. Again, red pops, corners and edges. I mean, if you zoom in, they look really good. This top left one, then maybe something going on up there, but the rest of the corner and edges look really nice. And it's really good for a 57 card. I kind of like that. I dig the picture. Just kind of an action shot. He's got hockey mouth. Got smiling teeth, I guess. And back of the card, though, Josh, this is where all the money's made. We got a cartoon. So now I'm fully in on this card because of the cartoon. Here's what it says. How much does a puck, regulation size, weigh? Answer, 6 ounces. And what cracks me up is this picture of the cup, or not the cup, this hockey puck with legs and a face, basically sleeping on a scale, just enjoying life and relaxing. It's kind of weird. But it cracks me up. Upper Deck, please bring back cartoons. That's all I want. bring back cartoons to cards, and I will be happy. I'll never rip on any cards again. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So now our boy, who I can't say, but here's his real name: Joseph Maurice Real Chevy Chevrefels. So I'm gonna call him Chevy, just because if I'm saying it wrong, people are gonna be screaming at me, and I don't want to say it wrong the whole time.
That's too many names.
Yeah, we see a lot of these guys have lots of names. So our boy Chevy, left winger from Timmins, Ontario, for his career, 104 goals, 97 assists, 201 points, and 387 games played over an 8-season NHL career. Played 7.5 seasons with the Boston Bruins with a brief pit stop in Detroit. A little more on that later. One-time NHL second All-Star team selection. And I just realized, I go into this guy, I give a little bio, but it's kind of sad. So reading Chevy's story, if you read about him, basically shows what the effects of alcohol can have on a person. Chevy was ranked the second best junior hockey player in Canada behind someone you might have heard of, Jean Beliveau. Heard of him?
Heard of him, yeah.
So this guy was ranked second behind him. However, after turning pro, had continued issues with alcohol. Ex-teammates mentioned that Chevy was often hungover at games. When he was traded to the Red Wings tried to get him into Alcoholic Anonymous. And it was even rumored that Jack Adams hired a PI to follow him around to keep tabs on him. Out of frustration and only half a season with Detroit, they actually traded him back to Boston. So it's kind of a weird story, but it's like maybe Boston knew what they had and maybe could keep it under control. But I didn't put this in here, but I remember the thing that jumped out is when he was with Boston, they thought he was undersized at 170. So they actually told him to have a couple beers with dinner every night to help. Who knows what medicine was in the 50s, but to say drinking beer to get bigger is not, we know that doesn't work, but how that might have contributed, different time, all that stuff, but kind of sad. So last sale of a PSA 6 copy of this card I could find was on October 23rd of 2023 via eBay, verified in Terapeak, for $213.50 US. Current bid, $13 US.
I love to, like, halfway through that, you just nicknamed him Chevy and just
that's his nickname.
Confident. Oh, it
that's
is.
Yeah, okay. and Joseph Maurice Real Chevy Chevrefels.
Oh,
so I said Chevy? I'm just going to call him Chevy because if I'm saying any of his last name wrong, I don't want to keep saying it wrong. And
it could be Chevy, like Chevy Chase.
Could be. Chevy. Yeah.
Okay. Last vintage card. I had to pick another Gretzky. I just had to do it. I have a rationale, Troy. 1979 OPG hockey. Wayne Gretzky rookie. BGS 6, which is excellent mint. It got the PWCC-A, which I think will be changed soon to Fanatics, the above average eye appeal rating. I had to pick it because of that eye appeal rating. So I have a new vintage mantra that I unveiled on our Fanatics Collect Weekly Watch Party YouTube show with Jeremy Lee. I don't know if you caught this, but
eye appeal is all that matters. Is that right?
Kind of.
Oh.
When it comes to vintage cards, I go eye appeal first, grade second.
I don't disagree with that.
All right.
Like Louis just said, buy the card, not the grade.
Yep. Buy the card, not the grade. So I get intrigued now when I see the eye appeal designation, like, oh, this could be a really interesting card to look at. But first, let's go through the pop stats. The BGS 6 pop for this card is 454. So the above average eye appeal rating would mean, according to Fanatics, it's in the top 30% of the 454 copies. 18,688 copies of the 1979 OPG Gretzky have been graded by the 4 major grading companies. 12,729 at PSA. 4,650 at BGS. 1,194 at SGC, and for some reason 66 people graded this card at CGC. Not sure why.
Maybe friends and family just trying to help them out.
I'm gonna try to do a poor man's. All
right,
a popo man's. Jeremy Lee here, Troy.
Okay,
do a quick assessment of a Wayne Gretzky rookie.
All right,
I'm Jeremy Lee. The centering of this card is very nice.
I've never heard Jeremy say, "I'm Jeremy Lee."
I'm Jeremy Lee, and I'm going to do a Gretzky card because I know everything about it.
Yes,
I am the Oracle. Is that a good impression?
That's good. Okay. It's true.
Yeah. Okay, centering of the card is very nice. I'm sure that's a big reason for the above average eye appeal rating.
Yep.
Corners, I think, are worthy of a 6th grade. The biggest issues are the left side corners, so the upper left, but it's the 6, right? You can't expect perfection. Lower left is a little bit of wearing there too.
Bottom right a little better.
Edges are decent. My one little tiny gripe on the edges is the top edge has the more pronounced OPG rough cut. I like mine evenly distributed.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, minor issue.
Yep.
What else? Oh, there's a little like a red mark or fisheye. Keep going down.
Yes. Right here.
Right there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a blemish on the card. But yeah, the biggest issue for me is registration. And there's a couple of areas you can look at and see that the yellow and magenta plates are misaligned. So the easiest spots to tell are always like the Oilers. You can see it looks a little like a 3D movie where you have to put your glasses on.
Someone if it's a 3D effect.
Yeah, you always go to the Oilers and you'll see the alignment of the plates there. Then the next spot is the lower right corner, the oil drop.
Yep.
Again, you can see how the yellow and magenta plates are a little misaligned. And then you usually want to look at the picture of Wayne himself, where you can see a little bit of glow on the what we normal people call breezers and weird people call hockey pants.
Right, oh, right here.
Yep, the little glow on the right side. Yep. Now there are some like some of the registration on this card is actually pretty good. Like go more over to the oil drop logo and zoom in on the pinstriping is really spot on there. This card is super intricate. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like no wonder why there's.
So you don't like the black frame.
Yeah, like a lot of times you'll see it like bleeding over. You'll see gaps in the registration. So that part looks very nice. And again, I think overall a really good copy. One of the interesting things that I've learned from Jeremy about registration is I think his theory is on the Gretzky rookie that the grading companies aren't as in tuned to registration issues as they are to corners, edges, like scuffs, surface imperfections, and centering.
Well, yeah, I mean, just think too. I mean, this always like again, it's a Gretzky card. You should know what you're grading, but it almost looks like this is meant to be the name, like the Oilers 3D effect. If you didn't really know what was going on, so I always think about they probably wouldn't. I bet they don't let like new graders do the Gretzky rookies.
Like, this card is like a hobby in of itself. I mean, again, that was like a horrible rendition of Jeremy.
Yeah,
watching him go through this card is a work of art. It's awesome. I love every time. It doesn't get old. Seen him do it 100 times now. But again, overall, pretty good copy. Last sale, the 1979 OPG Wayne Gretzky BGS6 in June for $2,107 US. All-time high, $37.33 US from February 2021. Now, one thing I got to say about prices to vintage cars that I've definitely learned from this partnership we have with Fanatics Collect and the show we do, there can be a huge difference in the eye appeal and quality of the kind of the worst BGS6 and the best, and that will have a dramatic effect on price. It's not as simple as a Cale Makar Young Guns PSA 10, where it's super homogenized. And so to some degree, doing all-time highs in current sales, we're not factoring in the how clean or nice or appealing of a copy that was. There was 2 different cards in last week's show that were both PSA 1, like they're really old. They were 1910 cards. No, they're PSA 3. Sorry, excuse me. It was the Lester Patrick we talked about on our show, and there's another one. The other one, I can't remember the player's name, was garbage. Really? It looked like crap. And the Lester Patrick was a beautiful PSA 3. If you covered the grades, you would have thought there's no way possible these cards are the same grade. And what I asked Jeremy at the time, and what he kind of confirmed for me, is that the lower the grade, the more variability you'll see in condition, right? So a PSA 10 is you have everything you expect to be perfect. PSA 9, everything has to be really close. You get to a 3, a 2, a 1, and you're gonna have cards that are like a hot mess, and other cards that look really, really nice. And so that's just something you have to know when you're evaluating your own vintage cards. But you got a current bid?
$725 US.
Okay, we're gonna go quickly through our favorite modern cards. The first one I picked out is a very Oilers theme. Jeez. 2018 Upper Deck the Cup Gold Spectrum Leon Draisaitl auto out of 12. This is raw or NBA authenticated. What caught me to this on my eye to this is not only is it a nicely designed card, but I don't know if you've ever noticed this about Draisaitl's auto. Is there's a lot of like streakiness to it typically.
Mhm.
I think when he signs, he lets up pressure when he's doing like the big D of Draisaitl.
Family show.
And when I saw this auto, so I see auto, I'm like always looking for a copy that has more of that sort of not streakiness to it. And actually, this auto is pretty decent. It's not perfect, but if you looked at I'm not by no means like a Draisaitl auto expert, but it seemed pretty nice to me. And then I started looking at the card. The card is what I really love, the kind of cup card where sort of the minimalist museum sort of feel, really balanced design. It's out of 12. Just a very, very nice card. There's some upper wear in the upper right corner, so it's not going to be perfect, but you know, that's what you should be aware of. But I know, I just think it's a very nice looking hockey card. Do you like this sort of design?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I will say this: it's not my absolute favorite, but I like where the auto is, I like where it's placed. It's kind of faded in. I don't know. Maybe I don't like the brownish color, but
so, and then a couple things that I decided wanted to find some interesting stuff on Draisaitl, and I know Troy that you very, very closely follow all the hockey tabloids. So I'm sure you saw that Leon actually got engaged last week. Did you see that?
I did. You even sent me a picture. There he is.
Oh, so cute.
He's really happy. Looks kind of rocky, you know, be down on one knee.
Yeah, it looks dangerous. What's going on here? Like, we got some fruit and rocks, and
yeah,
I think that's Hawaii. I'm guessing.
I'm guessing like Greece or somewhere exotic like that. He's got cash. Do you think we're gonna be asked to be in the wedding? I could see us being ushers.
Highly doubt it. What is? You know what? This is sad. Where's he from? Why? Germany.
He's from Cologne.
Yeah, Germany.
Think he smells good? Do you have to smell good if you're from Cologne?
You know, you got to follow the rules. Germans are very good with their rules.
Okay. Then I found another article and really curious to get your input on this one. So The Athletic, ever heard of it?
Yes, they should just give us money all the time.
I know. That'd be awesome. I just want to have their people on our show. So they did an article on his contract situation. I'm sure you followed that a little bit, right? It's going to be kind of spendy.
Yeah.
And so they did an article and they basically asked the question. I thought this was a really interesting question. Is Draisaitl the best number 2 in NHL history? Which is kind of funny, like when you think about it, like not number 2 and like poo. I know that's like where your mind goes, but the best sidekick in NHL history.
You can't get away from this, man. Holy cow.
No. So what I do know, Troy, nobody cares what the Athletic thinks. What the hobby wants to know is what you think about this. And what I'd call this a very, very critical question. So here it is, Troy. Is Leon Draisaitl your number 1, number 2?
Number one, go take a number 2.
Is he the best number 2 of all time? The best sidekick?
Oh, probably. But
well, who would be the other options?
Well, you got who's
Gary
our
Curry? Or Messier.
Is it Mark Messier, our hobby buddy with the Oilers?
Yeah, he's a hobby buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
but Messier was like the one in New York, though.
Yeah, Messier was the man, you know, in New York. But this is where I kind of want him to leave. I kind of want Draisaitl to leave and see what he can do somewhere else. Like, get out of McDavid's shadow. Probably not the greatest move for his career and points and stuff, but yeah.
I think my favorite line we've written for this show is Leon your number 1, number 2. I don't know why I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Okay, this card has sold publicly, Troy, although it was many, many moons ago. $96 US raw in August of 2020, and then $78 raw in November 2019. You got a current bid?
$110 US. All
right, you got the next modern card?
I do. This thing is fantastic. All right. 2013 in the game, used. It's really weird. It's like ITG used, so it's in the game used, on the move.
Oh, nice.
Silver Felix Potvin patch. So you can see the picture here. Love it. Love Felix Potvin. He's a goalie that gives me all the 90s nostalgia feels. So it was like 90s, early 2000s. I'm a kid. I have lots of free time watching TV, watching hockey, watching Sports Center. So Potvin was always one of those guys I kind of liked. I loved his style, loved his quickness, and his had an awesome name, or nickname, the Cat. And I was not familiar at all because we usually don't talk about in the game very much. I think Leaf owns it now, if I remember right. Owns the brand name, but I've actually been finding a lot of stuff in boxes of in the game stuff of North Star players and Wild players from back.
Wasn't that like the Dr. Brian Price?
Not Price's Leaf, I think. It's Dr. Oh, it's on the back of this card. Hold on. Dr. Oh, no, you're right. Dr. Brian Price. Who's Leaf?
But what
Brian
is he
Gray.
a doctor of?
Brian Gray. That right?
Is he like a real doctor? Is it like anthropology and he just calls it?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Yeah, Brian Price. So anyways, so it's
Can we be doctors?
What?
Can we be doctors?
If we get an honorary doctorate, I think we can.
Can somebody, does anybody listening work at a university can make me or Troy a doctor so we can say Dr. Troy?
Yeah, I want my honorary doctorate. I'm about 4 years away from. I got a master's, so do I need 4 more years to get a doctorate now, or 6 probably?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. So in the game, and so I didn't know anything about the set, so I did a little digging. So here's what we got from Cardboard Connection. After a 10-year hiatus, game used in the game used line returns for the 2013-14 season. Has a bunch of game used memorabilia cards. Each box contains 4 memorabilia cards, including I don't know what I was trying to say. A chance at several signed insert sets. Product is set around game used memorabilia cards, which hence the name. So that's good. And that's basically, I don't want to read the rest of this. Now that I read it, it's kind of.
Did you though? Is it in the game used, like really game used, or is it like game used where it's.
We're going to get to that.
Fired. Shots fired.
We will get to that. Actually, it's kind of funny you brought that up. So let's start with the card. Card is raw, NBA authenticated, just like Josh's last card. The card is the silver version.
Ooh.
And it's the silver version of the On the Move card.
Okay.
While it's not serial numbered, the print run of this card is 60. I'm not sure where that found, but TCDB had that. A bunch of forums had that. So I wonder if they put a sell sheet out on the checklist maybe when it was released. They had that print run, but no actual serial number on the card. Card looks nice. It's got 2, we'll call them jersey swatches. On the back of the card, you can see some slight fraying near the top of that. And if you look at the heat maps, you can definitely see where they're seeing some of the issues. So this is the front heat map. If you're watching on YouTube, top left, top right, and that top edge. And then here's the back. So there's where the circle is on the top right, and then each corner having some issues, which you can kind of see when you zoom in. You can see the framing on the stuff. So it helps though that heat map's there to kind of what is the word I'm looking for? Justify what you're seeing. I'm missing a word.
I help you to know where to look.
Yeah, definitely. And again, so let's talk about what you asked about with the game use. Here's what I actually appreciate. You go to the back of the card, and it says you have received an on the move card from the In the Game Use series by whatever. On the front of this card are pieces of game used Felix Potvin Los Angeles Kings jersey and game used Boston Bruins jerseys. I kind of dig that they actually say the team name because I'm wondering if that would help with. Wait, I have this. It looks like it's a patch from a wrong team of the picture of the players in. I know they'll never do this again, probably, but this is what I want. You know, the dream is either there's a QR code or something that I can scan real quick to show me like what actual game this was from. I know we'll never have that, but it's
the more prominent, the more valuable the card will be.
Yes, exactly. So I actually really dig that about what they put on the back. Now, again, Felix Potvin, probably zero hobby market, but I just loved Felix Potvin, and I'll tell you why it has no hobby market when you get to the current bid. So our boy Potvin played 13 seasons in the NHL, 266 wins, 260 losses, 85 ties, 32 shutouts, 635 games played. He made the 1992-93 All-Rookie team. two-time All-Star game selection, played for the Maple Leafs, Islanders, Canucks, Kings, and Bruins, was the winning goalie at the last NHL game played at the old Chicago Stadium. A 1-0 shutout. There you go. Most recent sale of this card I could find was on September 13th of last year via eBay, verified in Terapeak for $13 US. Josh, current bid. There are no bids. Starting price $5 US. Someone go bid on it, or I will.
See, but because the card's not numbered, though, I don't think anyone knows it's out of 60.
Yeah, that's where you have to like dig and find it, and you know, I think it's a cool card. I mean, if I can get this for $5, I'm getting it for $5. I will put the bid in if it's not there.
Okay. Our last card we're going to look at is a 2015 Exquisite Collection Spectrum Connor McDavid rookie patch out of 25 BGS 9 mint. I just think it's a very nice looking McDavid dual patch.
I don't think it looks like McDavid. It's not him.
He's too happy.
Once you zoom in, you can see his face, but man, for the life of me, I was like, that does not look like McDavid. But now you zoom in, it kind of does. But it's young, happy McDavid.
Oh, so cute.
He wasn't, well, he was still cupless, but he was thinking about all those cups he was going to win.
Oh, wow. BGS 9, a fine grade, I think, for a thicker Exquisite card. No issues there. Card background reminds me of a marble countertop. It kind of looks like the countertops in my kitchen, which is kind of funny. Chuckled about that for a minute. A lot of gold foiling on the card. I think one thing you'll really appreciate about this card is the Upper Deck logo. They match the gold foiling.
Good job.
So Troy gives the logo match. Eye marks there. 2 patch windows, each with 2 color patches. Both are white and blue patches. Would be nice maybe to have a little bit of orange sprinkled in, but the patches still pop and I think are interesting. There's like 3 breaks in one and enough variety there to make the patches fun to look at. Memorabilia, Troy, was used in a rookie photo shoot. Rookie jersey materials are very rarely, if ever, game used. Normally, you start to see the game used stuff in the player's second year of hockey releases. I don't know. In general, do you like rookie patch cards? Or like, I know like a guy like, not to reference Jeremy again, but like he's big on collecting second year cards that have really those first game used patches.
I am not a rookie patch with no auto. I want an auto. If I'm going to get a patch on a rookie, I want the auto too.
It's going to make the card a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
But that being said, last sale of any copy of this card, because remember, it's only out of 25, was a PSA 10 that sold for $4,500 earlier this month. It's like, holy cow. That's probably a lot of the label there. Like, I would much rather probably have a BGS 9 at a much more palatable price than a PSA 10 at $4,500. Only BGS graded sale I could find was a 9.5 that sold for $1,620 US in January of 2022. You got a current bid?
$74 US.
That's crazy. If a PSA 10 just sold for...
I was like, does anyone know there's an auction going on? What's going on here? Some of these, I mean, they'll catch up. They always do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll catch up.
So I'm curious. Do you think I should start a segment on our show? Every new release, Troy goes through the cards and evaluates the logo and how they've blended it in or not. And that's how I rate the set. If they do a terrible job, they get a 0. If they do a great job, they get a 10. And that
depends if you think we want listeners.
I bet there's one person that likes when I do that.
Your mom would love it.
Oh.
Okay, personal pickups. What do you got?
A box of Allure that is sitting at your house.
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone too, so you're gonna have to like talk to my wife and go.
She'll let me in. Or young Madigan will let me in.
Oh yeah, he's a working.
Actually, Ava other young Madigan let me in last time.
Okay, there you go. Well, I had 4 personal pickups. So, and what I love about our Thursday show is Phil's not here to take a big giant turd on all my pickups to make me feel bad.
Hold on. Keep talking slowly.
Did you forget my personal pickups, Troy?
Are you sure you didn't? Oh no, I did. Here we go. Sorry, forgot.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, we're all over the place. Okay, what's the first one? You tell me what the first one is.
2012-13 OPG Pavel Datsyuk Black Rainbow Foil out of 100 raw.
Right here.
Yeah, it's out of 100. Kind of cool card. It's all cheap stuff too, by the way.
Yeah.
Then I got a 2014 Fleer Showcase Datsyuk Ultra Red Medallion out of 99 raw. I think I got this one for like $7. I have the Crosby PSA 10. A red medallion. It looks better in person.
Yeah, it looks cool, I think.
Then I got a 2010 OPC Timu Solani Retro Black 100 or Black out of 100 raw. I have the Gretzky, and so he needed a friend, so I got Timu to be his friend. And then lastly, a 2011-12 OPC Super Mario Lemieux Black Rainbow Foil out of 100.
So are these? It's kind of a trend. They kind of look.
Yeah,
these all kind of look similar, don't they? Like all the
OPC ones. It's all the OPC kind of retro vibe. I dig it.
It's cool.
Yeah, we'll see what I get at the National. Hopefully, there's hockey. Train for hockey tonight as I record or edit the show and sleep barely at all. All right, if you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. Link is in the show description, in our Instagram, TikTok profile. On our website, you can click on the Become a Patron link or go to Patreon's website directly, patreon.com. We are on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dialback Ventures, LLC. Have an awesome weekend, and I can't wait to share my national experiences with you on Monday.